Yeah, we fumbled it a little bit. I can hear you. Oh, but okay.
It's me.
People are saying they can't.
Now I should be back. There we go. Sorry.
You know, it's okay. I mean, the last time you streamed, you were,
everything was in upheaval, I guess, because I was trying to make that work with. But John was here, and it was like right down to the wire. We started late, and I had all kinds of like video problems. It's what happens. Sorry for making a new stream instance. I was getting a weird error for streaming in 2560 by 1440, and they said that the stream was expecting 1080p, and it's because it asked me like, "Oh, do you want to enable low latency for this stream?" And I was like, "Why would I not?" So I selected it, and then it's like all is like all screwed up. And
because you were streaming in 1440p,
right? So I hit the end stream. I didn't realize I could just stop streaming in OBS and then resume the stream, and it would be fine. I accidentally hit end stream, but now I know better, and it won't ever happen again.
Never.
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 Not with me. It's not. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I could easily screw up because I'm used to hitting go live through YouTube, but OBS added that feature recently, and it kind of confuses me sometimes.
Right. Well, I mean, I always hit through that too, just so I can make sure that I'm getting the right thing over here. Anyways, let me know how it sounds. Everything should sound good. Hopefully, you're not picking up dry coming out the speakers.
Apparently, something is a little too loud, according to Dad1153. I don't know what that is. Is it just Coury? Is it just me? Is it both of us?
It might just be me. I can.
Sounds good now. Zodiac says, "Are we in relative balance?"
If I go down to like maybe like if I just take all the gain off that, let's see. Does this sound better now? This should sound pretty good now.
Oh crap! Dingus Glurt says everything's in French.
or is try too loud? Try might be too loud.
No one has specified. We don't know.
All right. Maybe if I bring you down to 6.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Zane's dad says, "Try." Zane asked me to ask you if you and Jump can finish Super Bunny Man. He's watched the video twice already. Oh man. Okay, apparently I am blowing out the mic. I should not be blowing out the mic. Maybe you just got me turned up too much there, because I mean my settings are like they always are.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing. Okay, you know what? F this. I thought I was going to be able to do it like that, but I'm not gonna. All right, we're just going to do it all through here.
I'm pretty sure I should not be. What I am sending you, I don't think should be clipping.
All right, so yeah, it should be okay. Yeah, I mean,
at least not in a way that's different than usual, because I did increase my volume in Windows settings like a month and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah. So is my level all right?
Way better now.
Okay.
Wait, did I stop hearing Coury?
You stopped hearing.
I didn't realize Coury was talking. I thought
you should hear me.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Okay. Now everything should be good. Jeez. How does it sound now? That's what I need to know.
Does it sound now?
Sound good now?
Did I send you the link to the archive of Super Bunny Man on the Backloggery stream last Monday?
Yes, you did. It was, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I put it on.
Well, obviously not. But
okay.
It was a thing. I have not laughed that much playing a video game ever. It was exhausting.
Yeah, I saw it on Steam.
How much is it? Because we were playing drum.
I did not look at the price.
Drum logged. I'm going to look up Super Bunny Man on Steam because it was Drum's account we were using. And someone had gifted it to him. Oh, you can save 35% on Super Bunny Man right now. Normally it's $14.99, but right now it's $9.74. I can't tell you for sure if it's worth that much. I certainly got a lot of enjoyment out of it. But like it's not good, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun for exactly what you're doing, right?
It's fun for exactly what we were doing. I mean, if you stream, especially if you stream with a buddy, it's it's a riot. It's a riot.
Okay, so I'm gonna play Rollerdrome tonight. I was originally gonna play Penny's Big Breakaway.
Yeah.
But then I saw this when I was scrolling through my list, and I was like, that just sounds more fun. I played the first world, the first complete world and half of the second in Penny's Big Breakaway, and I don't love it, but I was like, well, maybe if I play it on a stream, I will find myself enjoying it more because I want to love it.
Did you watch John's video?
I skimmed through it.
Yeah, I mean it's, to hear him tell it, it's a very technical game that you have to be willing to, kind of approach it and meet it where it's at. It's a little technically challenging, I think.
Yeah. But I feel like Rollerdrome would be, just more fun. And,
yeah. So you said you originally tried this on Game Pass.
Yeah, I played the first 2 levels,
but then bought it. You liked it, so you bought it.
I liked it enough, and it was on sale. It was less than $10, I think, on PSN.
This still doesn't have a physical, right?
No, and it probably won't, because I think Take-Two just closed the developer that made this.
Oh no! Wait, yeah. Like Evening Star?
No. Not this is not
the publisher. Oh! Duh. I've got.
Yeah, I'm talking about Rollerdrome.
Yeah,
my
brain is
Big Breakaway.
Yeah, my brain got all my wires crossed there. That's right. I forgot. Yeah. Obviously, been a not great year for video game developers.
Yeah.
A pretty darn bad week as it is.
Yeah.
For that. So, yeah.
But this, based on what I have played on this is going to go down as one of those games that, man, I'm going to wish that there's a physical of this that will never come. Because I'll tell you one thing. If a game has an option for you to, hold down a button and slow down time, I'm all about it. That's probably one of my favorite gameplay techniques or gameplay.
I thought it was aspects. Dodging causes time to slow down.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to, I like that. But it doesn't have to be. It could just be a button that you press. I'm pretty sure that's what it is in this. It's you use the adrenaline button. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start. But
there was a 49 pesos donation from Carlos Ho, or is that Carlos HQ? No, it's HO. Carlos HO. Say nice shirt try. Thank you. Yeah, this is roll. I don't know. Is it Rollman Artemio?
Yes. Yeah.
This is Rollman and Artemio's YouTube show that I, unfortunately can't understand, but we love Artemio, so we both have this golden axe styled.
Yes.
Shirt.
It doesn't fit me the best right now. But, yeah, I mean, I was telling Trav before, my big goal, so lose 20 pounds this summer. So this game only takes place 6 years from now. I think I said 2030. So it's not too far off, by the way.
Wow. I mean, I'm under the impression this is like kind of maybe a bit of an 80s vibe to it. So they might.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an 80s like B movie, like late 70s, 80s B movie. It's kind of
like Running Man or
yes,
Beyond Thunderdome or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's probably why they chose a year like not that far away,
right? Because
that's the range of years that they might have chosen in 80s movies.
But man, when it kicks in though, I wish I could send you like the music. I'm not gonna mess with it right now. And it has kind of like a little bit of a narrative going between each level. It's kind of cool. There's this kind of a long tutorial here. Hopefully I can get through it really quick.
There was a $2 super chat from Jonathan Henson. Thank you, saying, "Try, is that the 8-bit Do keyboard you're holding?" It is. It is. I love it. I was really in need of a new keyboard anyway. And so when I saw that, I'm like, I feel very specifically targeted by the NES aesthetic here. I can't not get it. And I have freaking loved it.
You know, I got the Famicom styled one, and I wish that I had waited and got the Commodore 64 that's out now.
Because you want to use it for Mr. mainly anyway.
Yeah, but really what's kind of cool is like now that I'm kind of like learning certain Japanese characters, like, oh, there it is on the keyboard. You know, it's kind of neat.
Kage 5868 was asking, is high bitrate mode worth it on YouTube? Do you mean like for the stream in particular, or like what is high bitrate mode other than just watching a video at a higher resolution? Is that a specific mode or something? I don't know exactly what they're referring to. But I mean, you know, you do get much better bit rates. You know, that's why a lot of people, even if their video is only 1080p, they'll like export it at 4K just because YouTube gives much better bit rate to it.
The cool thing is in this is that it's basically impossible. You don't fall down, I don't think.
One thing that annoys me though, and I wonder if this could be what Kage is referring to. You know, I've got a Roku box connected to, you know, I moved, you know, when I upgraded to the LG C1, I put the C7 in my dining room, and something about where it was set up, like, or maybe it's just really bad wireless on it anyway. Like the Wi-Fi was just like unusable on it. Like I was, the main reason I put it in the dining room was I wanted to watch YouTube while I eat. And it was almost unwatchable. Well, I got this Roku box and the Wi-Fi works fine on it, but I feel like bit rates look way worse on it than when I watch videos on my computer, even when I like set it to, you know, the highest resolution of the video. Like, you know, I'm usually watching something like, you know, Digital Foundry or GameSack on it. And, you know, I know that those videos are recorded and exported in good quality. And I know if I watch them on my computer, they look a lot better, but like somehow the Roku seems to be accessing a worse version of that resolution. And I have not figured out if there's a workaround for that, because it's really irritating.
I use most of the stuff on my smart TV like as my main apps for streaming, but I also have it plugged in. It's like hardwired in.
Oh, Bitrose says it's an unlocked bitrate mode with premium. There's 1080 and then paid premium 1080. Oh,
I'll tell you one thing. I mean,
but I have premium, so I don't know why I'm seeing like such bad quality on the Roku.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw some like a thread on Twitter saying like, is there anybody out there that actually like pays for YouTube Premium? And it's like, dude, that is like absolutely like the number one thing that I pay for. Like, it is amazing, honestly.
Well, I think most people just like run ad block or whatever, but like, you know, but you like how are you, if you were to do that though, then you would still have it like, you know, using like the app on your phone. Like, I guess you could install like a ad blocker and watch YouTube in a browser, but it's, you definitely run into a lot of scenarios where it you know, ad block would be inconvenient or difficult or unrealistic to use, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think you can install ad blocking on like just like an entire network level via your router, but I've always heard that like it's kind of a pain in the butt and causes problems. I don't know. I don't know much about it. Network stuff drives me nuts. I hate dealing with it.
I do too, but it's a necessary evil a lot of times, I think.
Yeah, well, obviously, but we've at least got things pretty nicely figured out with the NAS syncing and stuff. I mean, that's a pretty darn seamless thing almost all the time now.
Yeah.
The only problem is my internet speed, which, you know, hopefully
will be.
Hopefully that fiber will become available soon enough. They ran it at least.
So is there anybody in the chat that is like seeing this game for the first time?
Was this originally shown off on like a state of play or something like that? I feel like it was. Or one of the Microsoft shows or something. Is it on Switch? I don't think it's on Switch.
No.
I feel like it was first shown off on a state of play.
Well, I'll tell you, there's this moment coming up here, like when I get to actually like playing the actual game here.
Yeah.
Just the way that it builds up and the music kicks in. It's like I want everyone to I'm gonna crank it up because it's kind of amazing.
Does it use licensed music at all?
No, it's all like synthwave type stuff. I don't know if there's any licensed music like later on. But
it seems like a game that would use licensed music though.
I don't know. Maybe to an extent. I could understand if it did at some point.
This new Max Payne 4 game looks wild.
I mean, it does feel very Max Payne.
It's like Tony Hawk plus Max Payne.
Yes. In a good way, yes, absolutely.
I mean, that absolutely does not sound like it could be in a bad way.
All right.
I saw your Where Them Cookies At avatar pop up.
Yep.
That's all I can think about when I see
like
your
I
avatar.
might change it to Where Them Beans At.
Where them beans at?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's such a tradition. It's kind of like you know, I've got that stupid generic spaceship that was like one of the things that you could choose like in the PS3 days. And when Drum borrowed a PS3 so we could play Resident Evil 5 co-op, you know, he just chose that coincidentally for his and so I've been so close to changing my avatar on PSN so many times, but he seems like he would be very disappointed if we were not, you know, generic spaceship bros for life. Like generic pixel fake Vic Viper. I'm sure people in here know the PSN avatar I'm talking about. Whoa, there was.
Okay, wait, hang on. I know you're gonna do it, but I love like this.
Oh, that title pop-up is good. I mean, I couldn't hear the music, but I just It was a very cinematic title pop.
Yeah.
That's good. But yeah, there was a $49.99 from Scott Davis. Thank you, as always. Saying, hey dudes, kudos for the marathon episodes. I'm donating platelets every week for a cancer
my platelets brother.
Oh yeah, you did that like a long time ago.
Oh, no,
didn't you?
I get called about all the time because I have like, I died already. I get.
You have like a rare blood type.
I have like the universal platelets. And giving universal, like giving platelets is like, it's like a couple hour ordeal every time.
Wow. But anyway, I'm donating platelets every week for a cancer patient who I'm a rare blood type match. The 3-hour clips help make the time pass while in the chair. Tries chameleon twist electrifying gag make me chortle. Oh man, I always forget about that one. A lot of Japanese games do this thing where it's like, usually I feel like this doesn't carry over to like how the game is presented or marketed outside Japan, but a lot of games like to market this like made up genre. Like, it's like kind of I think it's a holdover from the era where like every game had to have like a unique like RPG battle system and they had like a specific name for it and everything. To an extent, I think I think it's a related thing, but the origins probably go further back. But kind of like one of the few that like actually came over here really was like tactical espionage action for Metal Gear Solid. But I think those kinds of titles or descriptors are like a lot of Japanese games, if I'm not mistaken. And for some reason, Chameleon Twist 2, which it says on the title screen, even in the American version, it says high voltage screaming action.
It's like so appropriate for that game, right?
It's not appropriate at all.
I know, that's what makes it so funny.
There's no high voltage. There's no screaming. There's light action. High voltage screaming action.
But thank you, Scott. Scott sent me like a very long message on LinkedIn a while ago, telling me about like the network setup that he uses at work, and it was like way over my head. Pretty awesome sounding, but just like so far beyond like my comprehension of that stuff.
Yeah, well, like I say, network stuff is like not at all. I'm so glad that you got the NAS stuff all set up, and like literally all I did was like plug it in and they just found each other and started talking and copying data. Like I never really had to configure much of anything.
Super reflex. So you can just dodge, and you're always going to land on your feet.
So you like I saw like when you hit the ground, you did a bit of a roll. Looked like you landed on your butt, but immediately got on your feet.
Yeah, you just you never really lose momentum now.
Right. So does it ever take place anywhere other than these like indoor arenas?
There's outdoor ones too. But I haven't really seen any. Like I've seen like open air ones, but I don't know how many.
I think McFetters is wondering, would we mind giving you a recommendation for an LG TV? I mean, you know, when you say LG TV, like my mind assumes you're talking OLED. You know, so I don't know the extent to which the 4:3 lag is still an issue on any current models. I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not positive. But if you have like a RetroTink 4K, or if you aren't dead set on using, if you aren't dead set on using like 1920 by 1440p modes, like that was the best you could do with retro upscaling through an upscaler or the Mister at the time. And you know, it was kind of a big deal to me at that time. But now, you know, if you have you know, another upscaler or something, if you have a way to get the image to the TV in widescreen, it's not an issue. It never was an issue. So if you're willing to like compromise and do like 1080p, if you don't have a 4K upscaler, but anyway, I mean, I think the current ones are very good. You know, I know that John Lennon just got the LG G4,
yeah,
which I'm sure was very expensive. I have not actually looked at this year's models in any way. I haven't read into what the advancements are over last year's are. And, you know, there's always like some sort of premium aspect of the G model over the C model. But generally speaking, the rule of thumb tends to be that the LG C series OLED is the best bang for the buck. You know, the G series usually has some nice to haves, but for definitely a more premium cost. You know, I'm sure around now you're probably able to find some pretty darn nice deals on the 2023 models. So that would
there
be
was like a huge thing, like Target was like selling off all their
C3.
Yeah, they were selling off all their TVs, and they had it was actually like John was, when he was here, he's like, you know, Target is getting rid of everything, and they have like the 42-inch.
I know.
For like $200.
Wait. Yeah,
43 inch like $250 for like the. I missed it by like hours. Like in the
what?
last one. Like it's all like the.
Was it the C series or the A series?
No, it was C. It was the C3.
For C3 for $250?
Yeah, they were. It was all their display units.
Oh, display units.
Yeah, and
so
I mean
probably a lot of hours on.
Yeah, but I mean for that price, it's like you can't.
Maybe. Probably might have some burning. I mean, I would have been tempted. Yeah, that's interesting. That's. C5 next year if I stick with LG anyway. Might change to Samsung. I've heard that QD OLEDs are having more image retention issues than expected, perhaps. If I'm not mistaken, the QD OLEDs rely on like a blue organic layer, and blue, my understanding from what I've read recently, like blue is like the main problem with OLED longevity. Like it just whatever material is used to create that blue, like because I read something about like, oh, here's some experimental material that might be able to provide better blue organic diodes for OLEDs. So yeah, apparently that's the biggest problem. Like whatever. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I have not really read terribly specifics. Like I would suggest looking more into it. Like I know that like ratings.com is doing that really interesting, like rapid aging test. Although I think they like the updates for that are on a different YouTube channel, and I had a hard time finding it at first. I don't know if they like regularly update like a database on their website or something. I've tried to look into that stuff a little bit more, but getting the actual information presented is sometimes a little challenging. But anyway, yeah, I wouldn't take my word for it, but I did hear something about QD OLED. You know, not necessarily being a longevity win over the standard LG panels. You know, it sounds like LG pretty consistently has the most well-rounded and polished gaming features, like even beyond Sony, from what I understand. I don't remember off the top of my head what the differences were. Like, I mean, I think for cinephiles, like Sony, I mean, they still use LG panels, but it's just like the features of the TV. I think for like, you know, like if you're a cinephile, I think, you know, there could be some advantage to the Sony unit. Right. But I think for gameplay features, as far as I've heard, LG still is the safest bet.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it, like when he got that G4, I'm like, you know, maybe I'll think about it. But then I got thinking, like there's just no reason for me to do that right now. And I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to put anything else in here until that tour video out is out. Yeah, it's going to be like I want it to be. It's going to be in May.
Listen, you've got like the right idea trying to stay away from HDMI 2.1, in my opinion. Like once you're going to go through the same thing as me, once you get that TV that supports HDMI 2.1, you're going to be like, well, but I really want to use it. And it is going to cost you a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort by enriching your life very little.
Yeah. Well, the thing is what I want to do is, I feel like getting a new receiver is more priority to me.
Well, because you got dead monitor too.
Yeah, and like I have a way around it. It's just that I don't know.
I would love to not have to use some of those workarounds. I mean, you know, even with two working monitor 2s, I have to use a lot of annoying workarounds, mostly because of HDMI 2.1.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be. It can be annoying.
Yeah. So now I got a shotgun. You get new weapons throughout. I make you do a tutorial every time.
Mr. Bianc wants to know if I have any tips for a newcomer to FF14.
Oh, that's right. I mean, your Final Fantasy 14 video came out on DF, right?
It did. I finished it like 2.5 weeks ago, but it did finally come out. So that was I was happy to see that. I mean, my first thing is, you know, a lot of people think a Realm Reborn story is really boring. And it, you know, to put it into perspective, I mean, the fact that the game came back from its initial failed launch in such a good state with a Realm Reborn was amazing enough in its own right. And I think that the story was able to stand just on virtue of that, by like, wow, I can't believe they salvaged this game in this way. But now that people expect more out of the game, people find a Realm Reborn story to be really boring, and it's not amazing. They trimmed a lot of the fat off of a Realm Reborn story. So I've not experienced that version of it, but supposedly it is a little quicker to get through because you can't even play the expansion stories until it's an ongoing story. You have to play all of the main story quests to even get access to the new zones. You can do the new jobs as long as your job is high enough to accept the quest to unlock it. But anyway, my biggest advice would be just like stick with it. When you get to Heaven's Word, that is where the story gets really awesome. For me, I did enjoy like playing warrior, like a tanking job, up to level 50. But I did that after I'd already played through everything as a monk. So I knew the dungeons, up to level 50 dungeons fairly well. And once I got to that point, though, I was like, you know what? I am going to hate going through new content as a tank where I'm kind of expected to take charge and lead the party and like have some idea what's going on. So, I don't necessarily want to discourage you from playing like an important role like a tank or a healer. A healer probably easier to do like a dungeon that you haven't. I've not really played healer myself, but I'm guessing it would be easier to play something like that than a tank on content you're not familiar with. But I just played, a DPS or damage dealer job or whatever you want to call it. Because it's very low stakes. No one really cares.
More dots.
Right? Yes.
More dots.
But no one really cares what you do if you're that kind of job, right? Like no one's like going to criticize you for not understanding what's going on and stuff. I'm not sure to the extent that the early game has trusts implemented yet, but trusts are amazing. If you can play the story just like without having to wait for a party to be built. It's an automated process. You don't have to like actually be social with them if you don't want to be. But trusts were introduced in Shadowbringers, which is the third expansion. And I think they were going to make it so that you could play with story NPCs in earlier expansions as well. But I'm not sure. I really like that because it feels like a more safe and comfortable way to learn some of the gimmicks of, the bosses and things like that. I feel like I actually learned some of that stuff better by being in an NPC party than I would have been a human party.
Did not even see that.
So do take advantage of that if you don't necessarily want to play with real humans. But yeah, I mean, it's, the main story for the most part keeps you equipped well enough to just keep going and going and going and going. So you don't really even have to engage with the in-game economy that much if you don't want to. There are definitely times where you might need to, but if you're just doing the main story, for the most part, you can just like take the gear that they give you. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward game, it guides you along pretty clearly as to, what your next like main story quest is and stuff like that. You can kind of get in as deep or not deep as you want, which, I don't get in that deep outside of the main story stuff and some of the more important side quest things just for fun. But yeah, that's what comes to mind. Mostly just stick with it, like because a Realm Reborn is relatively pedestrian in terms of its plot, but And then there's like the interim storyline that you have to do before Heaven's Word. And then like that final quest before Heaven's Word, like when I got to that point, like I had put off Heaven's Word for years. I think Stormblood was already out. And, you know, I kind of felt like, yeah, you know, like, oh yeah, you know, this game is good, but, you know, it's not like amazing, but it's good. It's good. I like it, you know. I intend to keep playing it, but, you know, I wasn't playing it that much. Well, so I finally was getting around to Heaven's Word. And that, I was like, well, I wasn't really getting around to Heaven's Word. I was just going to catch up on that interim story stuff. I was like, I'll catch up on that and then I'll do Heaven's Word. Well, you get to that last mission, it's just like, oh my gosh, things happened. I cannot leave it there. And I just like unexpectedly just like binged the entirety of Heaven's Word. And it's like pretty much like that from that point on, where, you know, I always like to say that Final Fantasy XIV's main story has the best pacing of any Final Fantasy since 9, since the PlayStation 1 days. You know, I think that's something that the series was so good at from Super Nintendo and PS1 days, where it's just like they're all, the story's always building up to like some exciting moment, and then like it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta see what happens next, right? And I feel like the series has not been as good at that as it used to be. You know, there a lot of times like the big like climactic moments are much fewer and farther in between, you know. And while I, you know, I've enjoyed like almost all of the Final Fantasy games, I do feel like a lot of them have been lacking in that kind of just amazing pacing that they used to have in the, you know, from 4 through 9. And 14 is the most classic feeling Final Fantasy story, you know, once you get to Heaven's Word, that there has been in a long time. It's fantastic.
Oh, you know, I see the super chat from Dad1153 saying, you know, Roger Corman, rest in peace, $2. You know, Death Race 2000 is a masterpiece, and you know, so it's almost fitting because, you know, this is obviously inspired to some extent by that.
Yeah, I saw something about him pop up, but I wasn't immediately familiar with his name. You know what? I randomly started watching last night, and I'll probably try to finish tonight. I'd only watched all the way through it once before. One of your favorite movies, The Crow.
Oh, you know, it just came out in 4K UHD, and I'm buying the disc because it's like you know,
oh
yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's something
I
like,
love it so much, and like I'm curious, like I don't feel like it's like I don't know if it's gonna be like your style of movie.
Oh, I mean, I've seen it before.
Oh, okay.
But I liked it the first time, and I'm liking it so far the second time. You know, I think I've told you before, like, I was afraid to watch it for a long time because I remember my uncle watching it, and I basically just saw the end. Like, or you know, it was like somewhere in the second half of the movie. I wasn't really paying attention, but I was watching sort of a little bit. And then the credits come up, and like I don't remember exactly what the wording is, but like, you know, there was some sort of like in memory of, or you know, like there was a clear indication that at least one person died making this movie.
Yeah.
And like the idea of like someone dying while making a movie was like, for some reason, I mean, of course it's scary, but like it really made an impression on me. Like something that you like think of as being like totally make believe and totally, you know, safe, you know, to create, you know, all of the drama and danger of a movie is make believe, right?
Yeah.
But like to see that illusion shattered was like really scary. And like I just, like every time I thought of the movie after that, I just thought of that, and I'm just like, that's it's really like intense and scary to think about.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like I have a feeling this is something you do a lot, but normally, like, if I'm going to watch a movie, like, I need to have time to like watch the whole thing in one sitting. But like, for whatever reason, like in the past couple of months, like I've really enjoyed just like starting up a movie, like, an hour or less before bed, and like just like watching it, like, before, just picking it up again like the next night before I go to bed, and taking 2 or 3 nights to like get through a movie. Like I normally would never do that, but for some reason, like I've found that very relaxing lately.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I also like just put them on like when I'm like movies I've seen. A lot of times I'll put like stuff on, although it's not always like just stuff. I'll just put them on when I'm like working or whatever. Like I just watched this. I don't know. Watched this movie called Lucy. That is pretty good. With Scarlett Johansson, and she is forced into like trafficking this drug that leaks inside of her, and it gives her like the ability to use 100% of her brain.
that sounds horrifying.
Like, what? No. It's like she eventually like transcends all like space and time.
Wow.
It's like it goes places that you don't really expect it to, but it's pretty good. I feel like it goes back to like the beginning of creation. Speaking
of buying UHD discs, though, the price of like dedicated UHD players makes me absolutely sick.
Oh, are they still? I mean, I've been thinking about maybe getting one.
So I actually ordered one this week because like I've been, like I was saying earlier, like I've been kind of like a reorganization kick, and most of that has been like the retro room upstairs, but because I moved that 16 input switcher and a few systems up here, I needed to rethink how I do a few things downstairs, because I needed to add like another not as big HDMI switcher. And I also like, I just like was like, well, I've got this big hole here where the switcher was, and then I was like kind of thinking again, like, I've been meaning to get a UHD disc player, like a standalone one, so I'm not like putting miles on the Xbox, to play those, right? Because it's the last Xbox that's ever going to have a disc drive, so may as well not put miles on for anything. It's not a video game, right? Because like it just seems silly to, spend a ton of money on, because they're like the price of a game console practically, right?
Oh, I don't know. Are they ever like a sale? Because I definitely would like to get one myself, but it's something that so rarely enters my brain space.
Right. So here's the thing. There is, like, everything I've read, and John's got like the top of the line Panasonic one, and
I mean,
I wasn't willing to pay that price, but I did get like the mid-range Panasonic, which it hasn't come yet, so hopefully it's all okay. But I did get a little bit of a deal on it. On eBay, hopefully it's all legit and good.
So you ended up buying like a...
No, not used.
Okay.
It's not used, but I still think I got a good deal. But when I say a good deal, it was almost $400.
Wow. Jeez, I mean, I feel like the ones I've seen at Target, like maybe like.
But there's all these catches. There's all these catches. So there is a $150 Panasonic. but it doesn't do Dolby Vision. And I think there might be a few other limitations. And like, I think there's also this like HDR optimizer that, and I don't want to explain it, but it sounds actually really useful for like matching the HDR luminance to the type of TV you have. That's only available on like the mid-range and the top of the line one. Yes, Powder Keg says tries most like talking about the UB820. Yeah, that's the one I ordered. Yeah, Revo is saying UB820 is basically the most recommended player. Yeah.
So that's one that's like $400.
Well, it's like 500, but you can find it for like 400.
Oh.
Or I've heard even like closer to 300, but
so it just has.
I think it's pretty hard to come by. But yeah, like I mean, it does sound like, you know, there's and also it does have streaming apps, which, you know, assuming they work well, I find it appealing to have it all in one place. So that is nice. I think that the $150 one might not have any streaming, which you probably wouldn't care about.
No, I have enough different.
So like the 150 one, I think is fine for the most part. Like the biggest things that it doesn't have are streaming apps and Dolby Vision. But it's just like it feels like such a shame to go that far and then not get Dolby Vision, even though it feels like the feature is not worth the extra cost.
Yeah,
but it still feels really annoying.
You have that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just it's not worth it.
So that
but I can't bring myself to not.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Not step up to that, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna spend the money, you might as well just like.
You might as well just do it right, and then, you know,
not wish you did later and end up having to like
buy
another one, or buy the one that you should have bought in the first place. I mean, I think that's true for like so much stuff, and it's just becoming more and more prevalent. Or you know, you don't want to pay a lot for something, but then you like do something to cheap out, and you wish that you were gonna like want these features
right
later on, and you end up buying the one that you should have like just bought in the first place, or that you were thinking about.
You know, I mean, just like we're on, you know, the last Xbox that's going to have a disc drive, like my understanding is that, you know, UHD players haven't really been updated in a number of years because there's just not the incentive from the manufacturers to do it, right? So we might not see like new UHD Blu-ray player models from like, you know, major companies like Sony and Panasonic. Like they'll keep selling these models for a while, but like, you know, the more and more, I think, you know, Blu-ray printing is like going to go to like some of these like boutique style publishers, which I've more and more realized, like we pay attention to that stuff for video games, right?
Yeah.
But more and more I've realized there's a ton of those for movies too, like a ton. And who knows, like in the future, like some companies like that might end up being the ones who are like making the UHD disc players or some other physical medium. Like it's definitely like we are on like the final main-ish stream physical medium for movies, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's definitely going to be more and more niche, but I feel confident that there's enough people passionate about it that it's like not going to go away entirely for a long time.
Probably more so than games.
More so than games, probably, yeah. So it's, you know, it's a question of, you know, can smaller companies or boutique disc makers also like take up the reins on the hardware manufacturing side? You know, I mean, they're still beholden to other companies making the actual disc drives, which, you know, you hope that continues on for at least a while. But here's the thing, they're probably going to become even more expensive because the demand is going to be so much lower.
Yeah. But yeah, that's right. So that's the one I should look for. Is that UB? Is it like UB80? And that like has everything, but it's like $400 or $500.
Say what?
That Panasonic is like the
UB820 is the one that has Dolby Vision.
Okay.
It's like, you know, you can get it for about $400 if you look.
All right, that's okay. If I know what to look for, because that's all stuff that, you know, I've done so little research on it. But
I've only been researching it the past couple of weeks myself, and I finally pulled the trigger just a few days ago, actually.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I mean, there's certain things, and you know, like I want to have my favorite movies. Like The Crow is like absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen it more than. I mean, I even have like the laser disc of it. It's like one of 2 laser discs that I have.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, I want to have it. And I've heard that the transfer on it is super good.
That's good to hear.
And man, like that new one coming out, like I saw that preview and I'm like, ugh. Like,
oh, there's a new Crow?
Oh my god, they're remaking it. They're remaking one. They've been trying to remake it for a long time.
Oh no.
Yeah, so
it feels like a mistake.
It is very rare for me to have like a visceral like I hate this. Like very rare. Like I'm just kind of like whatever, you know. But that was very much an instance where I like immediately I was just like I hate this. and
do you think you'll watch it?
What's that?
Will you watch it?
Will I watch it?
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna go see it in the theater or anything like that. I would watch it if it was on. And the thing is they could easily do it with just like if it was just a different character. That's the problem.
Right. Don't remake it, like, because like the story setup makes it so that you could use that concept for like a different person, a different story.
And they did with all the sequels. Like none of them were ever good.
Oh, I didn't even know there were sequels.
Oh my god, there was even like a TV show.
Oh wow.
Which I have like it's called like Stairway to Heaven, I think. How do I get this guy?
A bit ago, Henry Studio Henry Studio CA was saying, did you guys see my comment about how this game is inspired by 2 of my favorite movies, Rollerball 1975 and Rollerball 2002? Or yeah, 2002.
I missed that, but yeah, I mean that's like one of the ones that I definitely like. Rollerball, like the James Caan one.
And of course, there's also
Didn't they make the remake had like didn't it have like LL Cool J in it or something like that?
There's also Roller Games that like that NES game was like based on like a TV show. Whoa, you really got ragdolled over there.
Yeah. So if that's like if Jason Momoa was in it, I just why not just make it a different character? Like name him something different and it would have been fine. I think that they could have just like named him something different.
Corpse 413 was saying, could you have purchased that SAMD? What do you mean by SAMD? And then later also said, you could have purchased that. Could you have purchased that same UHD at the Micro Center sale? Well, first of all, Micro Center's opening, it was supposed to be on Friday, but it was delayed. Last I looked, there was no new grand opening date. That's an interesting question. Like, would they carry something like that? If anyone would, I could maybe see it being a place like Micro Center. I don't know, like, if they sell a lot of like home theater stuff. But they don't. They certainly don't carry it at like Walmart. Like Best Buy, like maybe some of the nicer Best Buys, but like I have to kind of go out my way to go to one of the Best Buys that has like the Magnolia home theater room and stuff like that. Jeez. Like most Best Buys only have like 3 AV receivers and stuff like that.
I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, I probably end up getting a new receiver before I get a new TV. But like I said, also, like I'm not gonna get any of this stuff until like that tour video is done, and that tour video is needs to be done, and I'm gonna release it in May. Like, it is going to come out this month.
Wow, nice. Mr. Do says, "What is a nice Best Buy?" I mean,
Like,
fair.
one that has stuff in it. I feel like half of it's like empty now.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you should have seen the Media Markt at and Saturn is the other one in Germany. It's like 4 times bigger and 4 times better than Best Buy ever was at its prime. Like, it's awesome. Like, if you had access to a store like that, you'd go there like, you know, at least once a week. It's pretty awesome. I could not believe what cool mainstream technology stores Germany still has. But like, Best Buy might have been comparable at the peak, but like not as big. Like, I mean, these are like multi-floor stores. Like, they're huge.
I was kind of impressed with, and I've been there before, but I was in Akron for work on Thursday and Friday of this week, and they have this store called The Exchange, which I had been to, like the one in Erie before, but they just have like a whole bunch of stuff. They have like music, movies, and games, and like toys and all this other stuff. And it's like, it's kind of amazing. We went, like, me and my coworker went to like several different ones, and they all have like different things. You just never know what you're going to find.
Right. I mean, it being called The Exchange, I assume they're all used things.
Yeah. And I found a copy of Blue Lightning for the Lynx.
Oh, nice. How much was it?
It's $30.
Was it just card only?
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the best game for this. I want to get a Lynx game, and that's probably the one I would like to get. So let me know if you ever run across another copy, because like I've got the analog pocket adapters now, so I may as well have something for the Lynx. I've got 2 Neo Geo Pocket games, I think. Yeah. I've got Metal Slug First Mission and Neo Turf Masters, and I've got 4 WonderSwan color games, but I don't think they've said anything about making WonderSwan adapters, have they? Because I think the current adapters are just Lynx, Neo Geo Pocket, and Q-Card, right? To be honest, I haven't even opened the box.
Jeez.
I felt like I needed to buy them, but
did you ever get your MemCard Pro PS2 set up?
No.
Jeez.
Not yet. But I did do some organization on my MemCard Pro 1. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not in the middle of
You gotta have like time to do this stuff.
I'm not in the middle of like a GameCube game or a PS2 game, Like,
yeah.
But then, like, I wanted to do some MemCard Pro 1 stuff because I played through the Rebirth section of Final Fantasy VII Original, picking up the save file from when I played the Midgar section right after Remake. I was like, well, all right, now I need to do this, pick up that save and go to where Rebirth ends, and so I felt motivated to do MemCard Pro stuff because I was using it. You know, maybe when I finally start Jack 2 for my pledge games, I'll get the MemCard Pro 2 properly set up. I mean, yeah, I need that I need something to motivate me to do it. I do feel like I might do that one relatively soon because I kind of got in like that era of PlayStation mood when I did that PSP stream.
Yeah. So now you're kind of feeling.
I'm kind of in like a PS2 PSP mood right now.
You know, it gets me in a PS2 mood is Stellar Blade. It really does feel like very PS2-esque. And, you know, I really like it. I'm having a great time with it. And it's like, what's funny about it is that I feel like all these different games are getting me like these. I mean, some people say, oh, it's not really Souls-like. But, I mean, it feels like the combat is not just button mashy.
Right. So you feel like you've played a lot of games that are kind of preparing you to give Souls-like games a second chance.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it does have a lot of PS2 era vibes from what I've seen. You know, I just played a bit of the demo and like watched like the DF video, but other than that, I've not seen much about it. Mm-hmm. But like it does have like PS2 vibes, but it definitely seems like it's blended a little bit with more modern like action combat. Like because it seems more. I don't know if slow is the word, but it's a little more methodical, like not quite Devil May Cry, right?
Oh yeah, it's not like that at all. Like it's definitely there's you gotta be more measured and careful with your approach. Yeah, and it's very like parry heavy, like more parry than dodging.
How have you adapted to that? Because I was a little afraid of that when I tried the demo.
Better. There's like, you know, you can get items that will like make your parry window like a little bit bigger, or just like power-ups that will make it so that you can your window for it is a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I am rather enjoying it. Like, I mean, I'm playing it in Korean.
Or like, well, Korean VO, I assume.
Yeah. Jeez, come on. I'm having a hard time with this level.
Was that a separate download, or was that on the disc?
It's on the disc, as far as I know.
Well, it does seem like a game I would enjoy. So I'll definitely, since I don't see myself starting anytime soon, I'll try to wait for a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I finally bought because I saw it for $30 was Armored Core 6.
Oh yeah, I got that for like $30 too. Like when Walmart was having their like deal or whatever. Like those. And that's like another game that I'm probably getting more prepared for.
Yeah.
But
I hear it's real good.
Yeah. We need to stay away from that person. There's a little too many snipers in these levels.
Yeah, this level's definitely giving you some trouble.
I'm just like dodging like crazy.
You know what I tried yesterday? Actually, I think I may have been there before. With Drum and Lynn. But I didn't remember what it was called. But I had a coupon for for a local Buffalo style pizza place.
Buffalo style pizza.
Yeah, are you like inherently aware of like being from the Buffalo area, of like Buffalo having its own style of pizza?
Not really, no. Unless it's like something I never really thought about.
I mean, I did a little reading on it, it doesn't sound like it's got like a really clear definition, but like it sounds like it's mostly defined by just like really heavy on the ingredients, like a lot of cheese, the crust, the underside of the dough is like it's very bready. It's a very it's a very heavy feeling pizza for sure. And the pepperoni is apparently usually a little blackened and crispy around the edges, which was the case with the pizza that I got.
I didn't realize that was like a buffalo.
I don't know. Supposedly that's considered a buffalo thing, but it's like it doesn't seem as clearly defined as like other regional variants, I would say. It reminded me a lot of the flavor. Back when I lived in Delaware, there was a local chain called Pat's Pizza. And that was what we usually got when we lived in Delaware. It was Pat's Pizza. The flavor reminded me of that. But yeah, I mean it's real good, but I also ate more than I probably should have in one sitting, just because, like, you know, I was like, well, I can usually eat this many slices of pizza, but oof, it's they lay the ingredients on thick.
I gotta stay away from those shield dudes.
There was a $5 super chat from Mike Stone. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, when are you going to play Helldivers 2 on stream? I want to see Corey's reaction to playing that one. Well, I mostly just want to see Corey title the stream Heck Divers 2 and see people like come in and whine about like, oh, I'm done with MLiG. They're censoring their streams. Why the censorship, guys? Like, dudes, it's funny. It's funny.
It is.
Heck Divers 2.
Heck Divers 2, yeah.
Is there any like not like with other people component to the game?
No, it's online only.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it's real good. Like, I mean, goodness, like, given how everything has been lately, I'm like, I'm so happy for the developers that they seem to have made something very successful.
I mean, that's what you say now, but it's like, you know, it's the second that line doesn't go up on their profits, like they're done.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's what got people bent out of shape about this week's closures, even more so than the past, was like Tango did everything right with their most recent game.
Yeah.
You know, and Microsoft like was explicitly saying these are the kinds of games we need. Small, successful games that win awards and give us prestige. And they're like, and then this is how they're.
It's weird. It's almost like the decision was made without by one person without without consulting anybody.
Yes, doesn't it feel like that?
I don't know.
You feel like
these guys, I don't like their name.
It feels like if literally one other person at the company had been like consulted, they would be like, dude, that's the only Japanese studio we own, and we're like probably not going to easily be able to get another.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. It's just...
There was I saw a few things posted today. Like, one was like a thing where I think it was from the making of Psychonauts documentary where Matt Booty like actually is there and like he's saying like all the wrong things in front of these like very concerned employees.
Yeah.
And I saw another thing that was like let me see if I can find it. It was like, oh my gosh, like who literally does this?
He was just saying like basically like anything is like, you know, if you essentially like saying if you're gonna do anything like outside of work, like it can't have anything to do with what you might be doing at work.
Right.
And Tim Schafer,
and like if you were coming up with other game ideas,
using it, like they can do whatever they want. And he's like, well, you know, I think we need to go through and maybe have a talk about that because, you know, maybe someday down the line we'll say like, oh, actually, you know, maybe that was a pretty good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Like basically just saying like, listen, like anything that you choose to do while you work here and you're part of like this company, it's like it's ours, like inside or outside the company.
Exactly. Oh man, let me see if I can. Where was it? Was it in the MLiG Discord? There was like this screenshot of his LinkedIn that was like.
Well, the last thing he was doing was at Midway.
Yeah, exactly, and where was it? Like he was at Midway, and like his big achievement was like you know. Closed all of this stuff and like shut down all of this stuff and increased revenue by 40%. like his entire like highlights of what he did was increasing money by shutting things down rather than creating.
Yes.
Like that indicates a problem rather than like if you are forced into that position where you have to create value by destroying rather than creating, then you have done something wrong like in the first place that led up to that.
Yes.
Like that's not something to be proud of.
So wait, someone said that like none of their games have ever made money. Like none of them made money, like ever. Like how, I don't understand how Hi-Fi Rush didn't make money.
Well, how do you measure success when it's
on Game Pass?
When it's Game Pass anyway? Like I know like obviously they have the way to track like okay like people download this, download that, but like how
does that translate into like is it because like oh are people joining Game Pass because of this game? Is that the measure of success?
And of course they aren't, which is why the model has some challenges because like how like obviously Netflix like makes a ton of content
and they just keep on raising their prices. Like how does
they keep raising their prices, but like they keep creating content and it's like. But like often that stuff gets people talking, right? And
yeah,
and
it was like it gave a positive impression of what like of things, and I think that is something that like money can't buy.
Right.
Like it got.
But like
certain groups of people like interested in games that like, and that's just not something you can.
You can't put a dollar sign on it. And it's like. You know, you don't really know how, really, like, the only way to know for sure that someone wanted this game bad enough that they spent money on it is to sell it. That's the only way. Like, I don't know. It's...
Yeah, but wasn't it, like, the #1 selling game on, like, PSN or something like that when it came out, too?
It might have been. Well, I mean, because someone at Microsoft was bragging about how they were like the #1 publisher on PlayStation for, you know, some period of time. Like they just released these games And so what I read, apparently the explanation was, and it was, the explanation was Tango and Arcane Austin were in the process of pitching games. And other studios could have been in their shoes, but they were in progress on development. In other words, had sunk costs. So the thinking was, well, let's close these studios where we don't have any sunk or very, very little sunk costs on development on current and upcoming projects.
But that's like so they
were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, but like, how do you do that? Then like, how do you avoid that? You can't. Like, that means that like everybody like.
Everybody's at risk the second you finish something.
Any developer that finishes a game, they're gonna feel like, oh, geez, you know, like.
Well, and then how do you? Well, and you know what? That also encourages them to have like a longer like.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the only reason Ninja Theory is like maybe that's the reason they just take us so long to make.
Exactly.
Like why Hellblade has been like in this state of development for so long. It's just like, man, as soon as it finishes, like we could be done. So they gotta like wait until
they've got to be looking at this week and thinking like I bet like as soon as that game is out, they're going to lose so many people because like people are just going to be like looking for other jobs.
Yeah.
Although I guess they might like, you know, miss some severance or something if they do that. But like they might not want to wait around and just feel insecure about it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, that's understandable if they think they can find another opportunity. And the way things have been so dire, like I bet, at least in the short term, I bet a ton of these people are not going to be going back into games for a while, if ever, because the state of the industry is just so bad. You know, unless they like really want to just make their own game, you know, and go indie, because it seems like indie is like the only success now. Although there was news about like Capcom's like, oh, we've just like had record sales for 7 years in a row, and we're increasing everyone's salary. You know, so I guess for the right size of company, they can manage it.
Yeah. That's because of their
there was a $5 super chat from Tinchiruya. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
I think I skipped it. I skipped one, and I'll get back to it. I just realized I skipped one, but I'll continue with this one. Tinchiruya says, I guess
you're looking too closely at the chat tonight. Sorry.
Tinchiruya said, I guess Microsoft just doesn't love money. Maybe Hi-Fi Rush wasn't good enough for them.
But they sure made it seem like it was good enough. They sure talked about it like it was good enough.
They sure did, and that's why the whole thing is like so insulting. Like man, like Hi-Fi Rush is like not my kind of game because of like the whole rhythm aspect, but like I love the way it looks, and I love what it stands for, right? I love the style of game that it embodies, and the kind of development and creativity that led to it. Like it's not for me, but I respect the heck out of it. And it just makes me so sad. But like I guess it all comes down to like, I guess they got to please the shareholders like every quarter. Yeah. And the fact that, but the thing is like, they're going to be making less in the long run because now they're going to be short games 2 years in the future. They could have made money on those games, but because they got to make money now, I guess, you know, I don't know. It seems like Nintendo has it figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Satoru Iwata was very, very famously said years ago, and, you know, as far as we know, this trend hasn't changed. You know, he said, you know, we don't want to lay off developers because how can we expect developers to make really amazing stuff that people are really going to like if they're like afraid for their job all the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
EB Chill had a $10 super chat saying everyone is whining about the Evil Within 3 not coming out, and they tend to forget Awesome P3 is coming out.
What is it?
Awesome P3. I think I have some version of one of the Awesome P games, I think. Don't I? I don't think I've played it.
Awesome P. I feel like it might be
Maybe
on that.
I don't. Thought I did.
There's
Maybe
like that one collection, like the Limited Run did, I think. Ooh, a grenade launcher.
It's in a collection. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Dude, I got a grenade launcher. I've never been this far.
Oh, so you played this far on Game Pass?
No, the last level is as far as I got. Now I've passed that.
There was also a 499 just now from Juan Castanovas. Thank you. It's a very cool name.
Did I accidentally select the same level?
It starts off looking pretty similar.
Well, it's definitely the same level.
But anyway, Juan says, I think the fact that Phil did not foresee the level of scrutiny on developers after this many acquisitions makes them accountable for lost jobs. Yeah, that was something, I can't remember who it was that originally said it, but there was something that was going around where people were quoting this guy who said something to the effect of like, I think the words they used was like, up until all of these big acquisitions, especially Activision Blizzard,
like 10 challenges.
They termed Xbox as, almost a rounding error on Microsoft's finances. It was there. They did what they did. They were safe. They didn't add a lot of value, but they didn't take away a lot of value, right? But now that they've dropped a ton of money, especially on Activision Blizzard King, now the pressure is on, okay, well, you spent all this money, it better be worth it, or you're going to have to cut costs elsewhere. And so yeah, it's if that is the truth of it, then they definitely went too far. I mean, I think there was optimism. I think people, obviously people had a lot of opinions, but I think there was a sense of optimism from a lot of people that, the Activision Blizzard thing was potentially good, because Activision Blizzard was in such a bad state as it was. They needed new management anyway, right?
Yes.
So I think there was some optimism of well, maybe this will shake out well for them. Well, it sure didn't shake out well for Tango and Arcane Austin.
Yeah.
And there's also just kind of been this sense of doom and gloom too. That's just really sad to see, but does feel true that a studio has doesn't even have one the latitude for one flop anymore.
Yeah. Well, I feel really bad for anybody who's in school for game development right now.
Oh yeah. If you're not looking to just go indie on your own, it's not, doesn't seem like an exciting time to be getting into it.
What's this other? 5 tokens for a grab trick.
And Master Safer says Phil Spencer was always a businessman, gamer's clothing. He was never really the down-to-earth guy people wanted to believe. And part of me still wants to believe, but it really feels like this was the last straw for people with one being willing to have faith in Xbox leadership.
Yeah.
It feels like after he's been at the head of Xbox for I think 10 years. Like it feels like it's been a 10-year honeymoon for Phil Spencer.
Yes.
And like I feel like this week, like it was finally over. Like people are done with it. It's like, okay, like you're not actually, good for us in the way that we had given you the benefit of the doubt for believing all these years, right?
Yes.
There was a $5 super chat just now from Skelvin Knight. Thank you. Saying, I hate to be a Nintendo fanboy, but they seem to avoid the problems Xbox and Sony have. However, Nintendo is surely not without its flaws. Yeah. I mean, it all I guess comes down to like how they manage their financials and like what that means to the shareholders and whatever. I guess, like, does Nintendo just like make a more slow burn, like just part of what you expect from them as an investor? I don't know. Is that how it works? I don't know. It's just like more explosive growth expected out of these Western companies. I mean, PlayStation, I keep saying lately, like, PlayStation is not a Japanese platform. Like they're just not. Like, Sony is a Japanese company, but like PlayStation has become an American division of Sony. The decisions that drive it, the types of software that defines it, it's almost all Western driven at this point. It was kind of like this.
Cool. He wears his blazer during the Casual Friday. All right, I'm getting the hang of this. I wasn't holding down square when I was doing a lot of my tricks, so I think that's a big thing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all messed up, and I feel bad for anybody who is like just just ready to enter the industry.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we're just like in a place where I don't even know what the answer is. I think that the answer is just like be okay with making smaller games for a while. I mean, like, I don't know. I wonder, like, when I look at Stellar Blade, I mean, it certainly has. It's like it's not a AAA game by any means, but I mean, whatever was done during the development of that is like, I wonder if that is more sustainable.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I mean, you've seen the famous image of, like, I don't know what the origin of the image is, but there's this, like, it looks like a magazine ad drawing of Sonic the Hedgehog, like laying down and looking cool, and there's this word bubble above him, and people like replace whatever the text is in it with I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid better and work less hours, and I'm not kidding, or something like that. You've seen that, right?
I have not seen that, but I mean, it sounds...
People paste that image all the time. Like, and you know what? Like, if you target, like, you can make a game that looks great if you target... If your goals for a game are realistically achievable and you can achieve them, that is so much more impressive to me than a game that aims too high and it ends up taking many more years to pull it off and still have flaws, right? Like that's why, an NES game can still look good to us today, because it you can tell like this game is aiming high for the system and pulling it off.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think too many things today, like they're trying to do something that's just like beyond the means of either their studio's capabilities or the capabilities of the hardware. They're aiming too high. You look at a game like this and it seems like it's very, of course, the developer was closed down. It might not have been the case if they had been independent, but
but I mean, this is like, that's what sucks. Is like,
it's
this,
not a AAA game,
But you know what? There is a lot more going on here than a lot of AAA games, I think.
That's very true, So, like, and I'm very worried about Sony right now because something like Stellar Blade is. I'm happy to see something like that come from them. I think it's really cool to see we don't see a lot of Korean developed games, certainly not at that tier. So I like seeing something, from a place that we don't really get to see games from as much. I like seeing, something that's not, just a sad dad open world game, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, Sony is really heavy on, every game has to be this absolute masterpiece for the ages, right? That's Sony's conceit right now, is you just pump a bunch of money into the game and just make it this thing that you're never going to forget, is going to change your life.
Yeah,
and then I don't think that's going to be sustainable. I mean,
but then look at like Insomniac is cranking this stuff out.
Insomniac is amazing, but then look at Naughty Dog. They, we're coming up on PS5 Pro. The generation is supposedly entering its second half, and we have nothing to show from it from Naughty Dog. Of course, they quit their games as a service Last of Us game, which was, I mean, thank goodness. That was, I can't believe that it took this long before people could see that was just not the kind of game that studio should be making. I mean, it sounds very much like they dodged an Arcane Austin situation where, everyone is saying that Redfall was not the game that they wanted to make, right? They were pressured into making a games as a service game, and it was clearly the wrong decision. And it feels like Naughty Dog was kind of pressured into doing the same. Although, I mean, people were disappointed because I heard a lot of people say The Last of Us 1 multiplayer was actually super great.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me if the multiplayer in a game like that is really
the same
great.
Way, the Uncharted multiplayer was surprisingly good too.
Huh?
The Uncharted 2 multiplayer was surprising.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what? It was very much. I didn't play much of it, but it was very much of the old school style of it was just a multiplayer mode.
Yeah. Right,
and it wasn't this there might have been some leveling up or earning things, but I don't think it was it's certainly not like it is today.
Right.
Or I miss when it was just a multiplayer mode, right? You boot it up with some friends, you have some fun, but it's not this grind that you gotta build out your character and earn a bunch of XP and points and do a skill tree and unlock all these loadouts and sink all this time into it. It was just a mode. The characters were what they were. You select the weapons you want. If you unlock anything, you unlock it through the single player, and it's not this whole ecosystem unto itself.
Right.
And I don't have interest in that. I think the first time that I was exposed to that kind of thing was I think Red Dead Redemption. I was like, what is going on? Why is there all this setup to getting started on this? Why? I don't, huh?
Wait.
I was really confused by it.
In 2 or the first one?
The first one, I'm pretty sure it had like a.
Oh, it had like a online thing. You mean?
Yeah, it had like an online thing, and I'm pretty sure it was like, you know, you're like leveling up your character and stuff like that. I think that's the game I'm thinking of. I've not played. I mean, I played like 40 minutes of Red Dead Redemption 2. You know, it's funny to think back when I did that like 4K TV episode back in, I guess, 2018. You know, I had a PS4 Pro and an Xbox One X, but like games that actually took advantage of either system were relatively uncommon. Games that had features like HDR, games that rendered at resolutions higher than 1080p.
Right. Man,
that was
so you have to do enough challenges to unlock the next tier. It's just not like
speaking of games rendering at a high resolution in 1080p, I was really surprised. There were a few people that commented on my Final Fantasy 14 video. Apparently, the PS5 version, if you set the system to 1080p, it does not let you choose 1440p or 4K for that matter, which is really weird. Because the game's anti-aliasing is, you know, very, very outdated. So, like, if you had a 1080p TV, running at 1440p and super sampling would be kind of awesome. So it's kind of a shame that you can't do that. I did not expect that.
I need to do a nose grind. I see. It has like, there's a bunch of like different tricks that you can do by pressing different directions. Can I change it though? Yeah, here, 'cause I'm tooling around with other stuff. Let's see. 3 warheads using only the dual pistols.
Oh, that's right, Dad1153. I'm so sorry. I acknowledged that I skipped your super chat and then like immediately got onto a rant and then forgot and then answered other super chats. I'm so sorry. I only acknowledged that I missed it. Now let me actually get back to it.
It's like such a good one too. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, man, that's the kind of stuff that dreams are made out of right there.
Okay, so Dad1153 says, while cleaning closet last week, found non-working Turbo Duo and Express plus 37 games, cards, and CDs. Fix/repair old consoles or buy new Analog Duo. Oh, dude, yeah. Whew, man, that's a nice closet find, isn't it? I would say definitely like well, first of all, you don't want to use a Turbo Duo or a Turbo Express without recapping them. I don't know if potentially like irreversible damage could already be done to them. But you do want to I mean, I would look into it. I would look into like getting them recapped. I don't know if that's something that you are
if it's
okay with doing yourself, or if you want to hire someone, but yeah, I mean, you know, the thing with the only thing with the Analog Duo is, you know, the disk drive like doesn't inspire a lot of long-term confidence. And some people have talked about like it scratched their discs. Luckily, I've not come into that, but you know, when we were reviewing it, like I didn't have a lot of confidence in the disk drive, but it didn't do anything weird. Like you had that one issue, but you got that resolved. And I never had any problems with it, but just like something about it, like, I mean, obviously it's an expensive laptop drive. I mean, and you know, I like we were talking earlier about like the UHD discs, like manufacturers are going to be putting less and less and less emphasis on disk drives. And, you know, I suspect the outlets that they have for choosing those parts, you know, is somewhat limited. I wish that they had gone with like a top loading design for it, but just based on what they could get their hands on, they may have not had a choice but to do a front loading drive.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. So
what I mean, I was thinking about it, like at one point I was like, I wonder if they could have done something where there's a HuCard slot on the bottom. Like if they made it the size of a PC Engine, just taller, with a flip-top CD drive, and the HuCards can go in like the bottom portion of it. And but it was the size of a regular PC Engine. Like I think that would have been like a pretty cool design.
I mean, you know what I think would have been great is if they could have just, and I don't know if this would have caused issues with accessing the games or something, but just like make a HuCard system and then make it compatible with like external USB drives. I mean, it probably wouldn't look very attractive, but at least you wouldn't be locked into a singular drive, right?
Yeah.
Although I don't know, maybe the drive could just be replaced. I mean, is it just attached by like a ribbon cable or something? Like maybe you can replace it with something else. I don't know. But if you recall, the stream after the review embargo went up, I specifically played Shabiban Man 3 because I was like, man, I really want to, because while we were reviewing it, it's not, I was trying a bunch of games, but it's not like I had the time to like play through a bunch of games, right?
Right.
So I was like, I want to use this stream to like play through a game, and if
then you had didn't you have it freeze or something like that during the
it froze like after like like an hour and a half or something. And I was like, well, there it is, because I was like, if I can get through this game, I think it will like give me a reasonable amount of confidence in the disk drive in this thing.
Yeah.
But well, that happened, and now I have like my confidence in that disk drive is shattered.
Yeah, but at least there's a jailbreak out for it now, so you don't have to use that. Although I don't know if the
CD games work with that?
What's that?
Do CD games work with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good. But yeah, I wish. I mean, is the Analog Duo like readily available?
I don't know.
I'm curious. I'm gonna look that up.
I mean, I think it's still incredible that the Pocket still doesn't have DAC support. Like, what is going on? Like how did
that is crazy.
And there's like
did they ever get that out for the Duo?
Like someone has like made a device that will plug in and you can do like have made their own DAC for it, like a homebrew DAC for it.
Oh, the black Analog Pocket appears to just be in stock. Also, the Pocket adapter set.
Yeah, well, they restocked. That's when I got mine. It's like when they restocked it.
And yeah, they do have black and white Analog Duos available, so that's nice. But obviously the Mega SGs and the Super NTs and all that kind, all these colored pockets.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the Pocket is like what they're focused on, right?
Yeah, I mean it's obvious that like the Duo was the fulfillment of an obligation.
Yeah. And like everybody's talking about this $99 Mister. And it's like not done. He's just saying he's like making it, but I don't think that it's like fully done. I think that people are maybe saying that like they're like already, he's like already like, oh, I'm going to make a portable version and this and that. And it's like, just like do one thing at a time. That's the problem, is that so many, any like idea that somebody has and like it kind of gets picked up by enthusiasts and they're like excited about it. It's like, yeah, we can do this. And they just like get so far ahead of themselves before like anything is even out, that it's just like in those situations, it just feels like it's destined for failure somewhere along the line.
So that
just like do the one thing and then focus on the next project. And then like,
so are you talking about the DE10 replacement board?
Yeah, that $99 DE10. Now.
So when you say a $99 Mister, you're just talking about the board, not additional pieces, right?
Right. I mean, this is a $100 DE10 Nano.
Which is still, that is a really nice step towards, more affordable and potentially more sustainable Mister, especially if I don't know if it's open source or if it's going to be open source.
The problem is, I think, is that he is like promising like all his other stuff before that one is even out.
Right.
And I feel like that's.
I mean, I've not paid that close attention, but I get what you mean.
Back here because I need to eliminate a house player when I'm wall riding.
Matt says I had to send my Duo in for CD repair because it would eject discs. Took them 5 weeks to fix. Oh man, I wonder if it could have just been fixed by that like eject disc text that Coury did. I don't know if that's something you tried or not. But that's that's a shame.
5 minutes.
But yeah, Dad1153, I don't know hardly what to tell you. It depends on what you're willing to do in terms of seeking out like a refurbishment. Just don't get old Dujin Dance to do it. if that person's even still around.
Perform the safety grab of it. Safety grab 540. Let's see.
Oh yeah. So Broken Halo dropped a 499 just now saying I've heard a lot about the Saru cart for the Saturn recently. I already have a Satiator though. Is there a compelling reason to also pick up a Saru? So I was unaware of this until I was listening to Bob's podcast a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this sounds like it might be just the thing for me because like
I want to get one too, and they're not
Saturn is not like a huge priority for me, and so like if there's some games that won't run on it, like I don't care much. I just want access to more Saturn games than I currently have the ability to do easily. Without having to do like all the the annoying like GDMU like
right. Yeah.
Or not GDMU, the whatever the thing you sent me is. All the anytime you want to update or change it, you have to like build like a whole new image, right?
Yeah.
So like it's kind of unappealing. It's weird. Like there was so much. I mean, maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention, which is very likely. But like there was so much hype for Satiator, and then once it was out, like I feel like people didn't talk about it as much anymore, and I never got a sense for like how compatible or how reliable.
It's pretty good now.
Yeah.
But
I don't really know what it costs though. What does it cost?
It's too expensive for what it is at this point, I think.
Right.
That's the cool thing. The Saru is like, or the Saru, or however you say it. It's this project, I guess, that was kind of like it's been in the works for a long time. Like it kind of got put on the back burner for a long time.
It uses the RAM card expansion.
Yeah,
right?
And it can create that expansion can also be used for like games that require like 4 meg cart, and it will also create per game save files right on that cartridge, which is kind of amazing. I mean, that's
very cool.
I got a shell for one recently.
A Saru?
Yeah, because I want to get one. The one that Bob recommended that has like the good parts to it was not in stock. The store was closed at the time, the AliExpress store. But I will get one when like someone who's like using good parts is selling.
For the Love of the Game says Saru is $100 after shipping.
Yeah, it's like
the satiator is $250.
Yeah.
Fenrir $140.
Yeah. I mean, the Saru seems awesome, and it has like really good compatibility. It's like 90% right now.
Yeah. Like when it's not compatible, is it just like, is it glitchy, or is it? It does not run the game?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't watched like too much on it. I watched like what's this? Sega Lord X's video on it.
Okay.
And
yeah, my only exposure is Bob's podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly like interested in it for sure.
I am too, because it sounds like something I would be more likely to use than Phoebe or Rhea or whatever the heck is the one that I have.
And the fact that it has the 95 figure is still just a claim, but there is still like in active development, and also like
there's room for improvement.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that it will be improved.
Showmass says that 95% figure is still just a claim. It's still really new. And yeah, I mean, those kinds of estimates are, you gotta take them with a grain of salt, because people aren't like playing through the entirety of these games when they're testing stuff, right? I mean, it's the same thing with us, like reviewing the Analog Duo. Like, we can't play every CD game through to the end while we're testing this thing. Yeah. We'll either run into problems or we won't. But like, you have to be.
That's true for anybody making videos on it.
Yeah, and that's true.
There's no possible way that anybody doing a video that has a quick release version, and people, that's why this stuff always comes out like after people have them in their hands.
That's one of the nice things I think, though, about having a lower cost flash cartridge, though, is that more people can afford it, and therefore more people can, ultimately discover bugs and compatibility issues that can, be brought up and hopefully addressed, right? I mean, that is a possible benefit. But you do have to be careful with claims like that. One that always jumps to my mind. Let me see if let's see. The PCSX2 website. I don't know if it's the same way, like compatibility. There is on the PCSX2 website. I don't mean this is a slide against PCSX2. I mean, it sounds really good. It sounds like for the most part, it's quite a good experience these days. But if you click PCSX2.net and click on the compatibility tab, they list all the games. And, they describe how playable they are. And this is the current state, and these are the terms they use. Nothing, 0%. Intros, 0%. Menus, 0.22%. So there is a very small amount of games that at least get to the menus, but nothing else. Everything at least gets that far. There are 0.63% that can at least get in game, but seemingly not very playable beyond that. 97.92% of games are playable. which I assume that's what they could just consider like really, really, really good with minimal issues or likely issues you may never notice. I would assume that's what that means. But then the last term, this always gets me. There is 1.23% that are perfect. And that just I don't know. Like I mean no disrespect to the PCSX2 crew, but like using the term perfect is like that's pretty gutsy. Like you better mean it. You better mean it. And I guarantee you it's not like 100% like, you know, running at the exact same speed and refresh and interlaced, you know, exactly like a PS2. Like I mean, as far as I know, it's not a low level emulator. So calling perfect seems a bit hyperbolic to me. That to me, that means that the experience is in every dimension indistinguishable from original hardware. Not improved, not worse, not better, exactly the same. Like to me, that is the goal of emulation. Like, yes, you know, if you can get perfect replication and then add enhancements on top of that, that is nice. But the first goal of all emulation, I think, should be to get a experience or you know, a result that is, for all intents and purposes, visibly indistinguishable from the, you know, plain original hardware. Perfect is, you know, I'm very impressed by this, you know, 1.3% that they claim is perfect, but I don't know. I don't know. All the respect and love to PCSX2, but like if I boot that up and it is not exactly like playing on a real PS2, then it's not perfect.
It's better than perfect.
If it's better than perfect, it's not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not like I want to first be able to get exactly like original hardware. Second, improvements, maybe. If you pull it off well. But if you can only do the improvements and can't also do the exactly like original hardware, from my perspective, that is not perfect. You have to have the exact original experience to call it perfect. Oh yeah, Jimmy V says adding HD textures, widescreen, and 60 FPX hacks are fun though. And yeah, it's not what I want to do personally, but I can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I'm glad that people can do that they want. I think that stuff is really cool. I err on the side of wanting to change the game as little as possible. I don't want the way the game is processed and presented to be terribly different from the original. That's just me, but I love and highly respect the efforts that go into that. So I was just watching. Did you see that video from Narrow about the new decompilation technique?
I mean, I saw it. I didn't watch it through though.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's not like a replacement for like truly reverse engineered like full decompilation projects, but it is a way to get games running natively on PC or potentially other hardware especially for games that aren't going to be, you know, your Marios and your Zeldas and Banjo-Kazooies, you know, that people are going to make the effort for. You know, you could do it with Quest 64 or, you know, something really terrible like Mission Impossible or Superman. You use Superman 64 as an example. So it's pretty interesting. But, you know, there was a lot of stuff in that. He mostly was using like Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time footage. And I'm unclear if those were this new method or if they were the old, if it was just G-roll of the old decompilations. That's something I always forget exists. I would like to actually try one of those decompilations, maybe with some niceties, if on a stream sometime. I think that might be fun. You know, I did the Mario 64 decompilation once. You know, it was pretty early actually. It wasn't that old yet. But you know, he was showing a lot of like really neat versions with like ray tracing and high res textures and running at 60 FPS or maybe more than that. And it looks really cool, but there's also something about that like makes me a little uneasy. Like, it's weird because like YouTube can't do more than 60 FPS. But like when I'm looking at Ocarina of Time running at 60 FPS, it feels like more than 60 FPS. Because like it's my brain just can't accept it being 60 FPS, and it just like it looks hyper smooth in a way that's actually smoother than it could possibly be. I know it can't be running at 120
it's
FPS.
Too smooth to be real.
It's too smooth to be. It is. It is, because it's like I know that this video is only 60 frames per second because it's YouTube, but it feels like it's 120 just because like the difference from the original game is so large. I just like my brain extrapolates it as being like too smooth to be real. Too real to be real. But yeah, like, you know, I look at that stuff like the ray tracing especially like looks actually really good. You know, it's like that's a fun thing to mess around with. But like, if I'm being honest, like I would just mess around with it. I don't personally, I would just feel weird to me to play through the whole game like in a way that wasn't roughly the same experience as the original. Or you know, I don't know. It would just be weird to me, you know, unless it was like a from the ground up remake, like not reusing the, you know, original assets. You know, like if it was like a true remake, like, you know, that would be a different matter. But like for the most part, I want it to be representative of the original experience. And you know, I would stream that. I would have fun doing it, but like I don't know if I could commit to a run like that. That's just my mindset. I like the vanilla experience. What can I say? Yeah, Green Thumbs was saying Ocarina of Time logic is tied to the frame rate, so the 60 FPS mode just used interpolation. Yeah, he was explaining that. That I was having a hard time understanding because it makes me wonder, does that mean there has to be at least one frame of added lag or maybe two? Because how can it know how to interpolate motion between frames without having the next two frames, at least maybe the next two frames drawn? I don't know. I can't work that out in my head.
This is N64 emulation running about 20 FPS, too smooth to be real. Yes, it is. Alexa
is saying 20 FPS is an absolute jutterfest on modern OLED TVs. Everything about modern displays amplify low FPS issues. So that's so interesting because, like, I mean, obviously, like on CRT, you know, the motion clarity is even greater than OLED, especially if you're not using black frame insertion. I think there's this greater awareness, I think, of what or I think there's like this increased sensitivity that people have to 30 FPS that they didn't used to have. In part, it's faster TVs, but yeah, we were playing PS2 games in 30 FPS back in the day on a CRT that would have perfect motion clarity, right? And it didn't bother people then. I think a lot of it has to do with the ability to quickly adjust from 30 to 60 in game. We didn't used to have that setting in console games. You didn't used to have that ability to just be like, let's switch between 30 and 60. And that knee-jerk reaction you have when you are on 60 and then you change to 30 is like, oh, wow, yeah, that looks bad. But if you start the game on that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand 30 FPS isn't for everyone. I think it's totally fine. If it's, I will almost always choose 60 over 30 if it's a smooth 60. But if a game is just 30, I can play it. And it doesn't bother me because I'm starting the game at 30 and it just feels right. But if you start at 60 and now we've got that ability in consoles where we can, oh, well, let's try performance mode, let's try quality mode. And that initial reaction, you're just like, nope, and you switch it back to performance mode. But if you'd started the game like that.
All right, well.
I don't understand motion clarity. 30 FPS on 60 Hz CRT is not perfect motion clarity. You're completely mistaken. You need the frame rate to match the refresh rate for lower persistence display. But it does create,
Before
like it operates. It operates the same, huh?
Before you get into it, I'm gonna downscale this game on the CRT.
Oh, okay.
Using
Can you
the OSSC
downscale
Pro.
it for the stream too?
Yeah, I mean, I will get my camera. Does everybody want me to downscale this game to 240p or probably 480i? I feel like looks really good too. Do you want me to do it? While Try goes and does this. Well, it talks about like
anyway. So Alexa, motion clarity on 30 FPS, it creates a smear because it's not something that like black frame insertion can really fix because the system is outputting at 60 hertz and the frame rate is half that. Motion clarity. You're right in the sense that when I was addressing your first comment, I was thinking more about the motion, and you're talking about persistence or motion clarity. You're talking about lower persistence display. So I don't know. I might be misunderstanding what 30 FPS on 60 Hz CRT create double image in motion, which is what you get if you use black frame insertion with a 60 Hz output. Personally, I don't really perceive it that way on a CRT, though. I do perceive it on OLED. If you're using black frame insertion on an OLED, I can't take that with a 30 FPS game. The only time that I did do that was with Nier Automata, where the cutscenes are 30 FPS and the gameplay is 60. I did play with black frame insertion because, again, I was playing on PS5, so it was the game was running at 60. But the cutscenes are capped at 30. But the cutscenes are so infrequent and don't have a ton of motion. I just suffered through it with the double image effect. Some people talk about that. I've heard people talk about you get the double image on CRTs with 30 FPS as well. For some reason, I don't really perceive it that way. I don't know. I don't perceive it that way on a CRT. But anyway, you're talking about Jutterfest with 60 on an OLED, just not using black frame insertion, which you shouldn't for 30 FPS games. But I don't see it so much as jutter as I do just see it as a smear because the image is displayed twice. So the fact that the persistence blur is created really by how our eyes are tracking the motion, to me, like when you're moving the camera, it's smearier. It's more smeary. I don't really perceive it as like a judder though. Like I understand what you mean. I mean, I'll see it in movies, like 24 FPS movies, where you've got like a long pan, like you've got like a drone shot, like moving over the landscape. I'll definitely see some judder like that. But I just get used to it. I just get used to 30 FPS. Like, I think a lot of people, and I'm not necessarily accusing you of doing this, but I think a lot of people do just like try 30 FPS really quickly and then just like don't, or like nope, and then they won't play it, or they'll switch it to performance mode. Just give it a chance. Just get used to it. I always find that I'm able to get used to almost anything. But remember, 60 hertz CRT is similar to using black frame insertion all the time. You get duplicate images and motions. It's really hard to have a back and forth copy. Yes, it is hard. I don't know why. I've never seen 30 FPS that way on a CRT. I don't know why it comes across that. It's just not an issue like black frame insertion does to me. Black frame insertion looks great, I think, but the game has to be 60 FPS. Or if you have a TV that has 120 hertz black frame insertion, it has to be 120 FPS for it to really work right. I do need to, before I continue being any more ranty, I do need to go back to, I apologize to For the Love of the Game, who dropped a super chat 13 minutes ago saying, Try will only accept PCSX2 if it's realer than real. Yep. Well, I'd have to go, I'd have like, PCSX2 might be realer than real if I had gone from Super Nintendo graphics directly to PS2 or PCSX2 as the case may be. N60 going from Super Nintendo to N64 was too real to be real. Going from Super Nintendo, seeing nothing of what was in the interim, and then getting to PS2, that would be realer than real. That would be realer than real. Too realer than real to be real. Really. Try Blurbuster's test on CRT. You will see the duplicated images 100%. Yeah, I could see that working. I could probably do that relatively easily now that, well, I need to get a proper output cable to do what Coury's doing. I was messing with it last night to do downscaling from the OSSC Pro, which I'm looking forward to doing, but I should be able to do that pretty easily actually now. But yeah, I don't especially want to see that though. I want to be able to play 30 FPS PS2 games and enjoy it on the CRT. I don't see it the same way as 30 FPS with BFI on OLED. Have you guys played with the Retrode going to a CRT PC monitor? Works great with a dinky $15 adapter. I've definitely done it with some Retrotinks. I don't know which Retrotink you're talking about. Don't think I've tried it with the 4K, but I've definitely tried it with like the 2X. So something that I was actually doing with some of my rearrangements in the retro room. So I was trying to get this BVM I've had for a long time. I was trying to see if I could at least use it for like, it's not in great shape, but I just wanted to like use it for something. Just like, even if it's just video backgrounds, just be on in the background. It's definitely a bit askew, and it's got some other warped geometry, and it's got like a scratch on the glass. It's not great. Anyway, I wanted to just do something. So I actually got this a while ago, but never, at first it didn't work, and then I figured out how to get it working. But anyway, I got a HDMI to BNC adapter, or SDI, I should say. HDMI to SDI adapter because all I had for it was digital input. And then I got SDI to VGA to connect to my VGA monitor. And there's not a lot of choice out there for the SDI to VGA. But it does work and it looks quite good. But unfortunately, there's a lot of resolutions it seems to not accept, including 480p, which seems crazy to me. And I was really looking forward to, I just want to pass through 480p. It seems to be a scaler, actually. I could get it to output 1280 by 720 and input 1280 by 720 and output 1280 by 720. But, it's a 4.3 monitor and I don't really want to do that. I might need to look into a different way to get 480p stuff on there. Cause I was setting up some things. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to set this for 480p and it'll look awesome for video backgrounds and stuff. And like a video idea I've had for a long time that I think would be fun would be looking at, PS3, 360, and Wii games that have proper 4.3 modes. I think that would be neat, and I think like a VGA CRT monitor would be like the ideal viewing environment for that. If you were outputting 480p, 480p. I think it would look amazing. For the Love of the Game says, I'm surprised how many Wii games are 16:9 only. See, I'm not. Like, I was actually surprised to learn that there are a lot of games that have 4.3 modes. That honestly surprised me because when the Wii came out, I already had an HD CRT. And even though, widescreen, my TV could go into a widescreen mode where it letterboxes it. But even though the picture was smaller, the fact that the game itself was a wider field of view and, almost all cases on the Wii, I was like, well, I'll take the wider field of view. So unless I was playing a virtual console game, I very rarely set my Wii to 4.3. And so, yeah. And this looks pretty neat. I said this looks pretty neat.
What I was doing? Hang on a second. I'm gonna make it better. I feel like I need to do it like this. I will try to.
Are audio sources on the one where it's just displaying the? Oh, okay.
All right, hang on. Let me.
So what are you outputting here?
This is 240p right now.
Okay.
But I need to
now, can you do letterboxed as well, right? Yeah. So it actually has the correct aspect ratio.
Yeah. And I will in just a second.
Yeah, Coury was saying like he was showing me like some pictures of like Stellar Blade on his CRT and like 480i, I think it was. And it's fun.
I mean, I could do letterbox and then I could go back to the other input and make it probably fill out the screen.
Is your camera 60 frames per second or
yeah,
30?
It's 60 FPS now.
So if you turn on 480, if you set it to 480i, we would see the interlacing.
I mean, yeah,
theory,
you should.
Right? It might mess with the compression though.
I think this 480i looks pretty good. Should I go to the other view and make it widescreen then?
Try it, yeah.
All right, hang on.
Is this the stream debut of the OSSC Pro?
Yeah, I think. Where is it? Okay, so it is right now. All right, it's 4.3 or 8x7.
Whoa, what's this? Master Safer, $20 super chat, and there's a dancing 20 by the name. What does the 20 mean?
It's about as good as I can do.
Is that 20 month? Is that 20 month?
20 months maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, Master Safer says, how do you guys feel about a 16:9 plasma with a native 1024 by 768 resolution? Been in my parents' basement for some years, so I forgot they had it. Am I crazy, or 1024 by 768 would be 4.3, would it not?
I feel like that's not showing up at 60 FPS. You know what I mean? It does not look like it's showing up at 60 FPS.
It looks pretty blurry. That text certainly is not very readable.
I mean, it's definitely 40. Hang on, I turned.
Okay, so Master Safer, is it or is it not a 4.3 plasma? Apparently, the pixel aspect ratio is rectangular and the TV scales to fit 16:9. Huh. That's weird. I mean, 768, I mean, that's not an ideal resolution. The OSSC Pro can actually output that. I think. Well, I think it can do almost anything. I think you can set custom lines on it. That is, and I believe that's a resolution. Is that an output mode supported on the Xbox 360? I don't know if any games would actually render.
Look at that. I can go back. I'm just going back and forth between them.
Oh, that's fun.
That it's so close is like purely accidental. But it's still not showing it. I mean,
you do not need to sell your Retrode 4K Rears to Blood. Unless all you want to do is play in 240p from now on. On downscaled on CRT. Play all your PS5
I don't know why
games.
It's not showing as 60. I mean, it should be.
Well, then just do 240p.
I mean, yeah. Well, no, I can. I'll. Let me see if I can put it more in focus here. That helps.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 has like a few weird 4.3 modes that I think are designed for like VGA CRTs, which is kind of neat. Although I doubt any games actually render natively at that resolution, but that would be super cool if they did.
The lines.
But man, I would be so into the idea of like a 4.3 plasma, but it sounds like this one kind of comes with some compromises. Whoa, this looks
not very good.
Well, when it started off though, it was doing like a horizontal pan across the level. I thought that looked kind of neat. But I
mean, 240p might just like look better.
The Z-axis movement is not good for it. But that lateral movement looked kind of neat, I thought.
It's like, it looks fine, like, in person. Like, I mean, it doesn't look great. But the lines,
it's kind of neat.
The removal of the thin lines and stuff, the lines of detail.
Yes.
It's like makes it look ultra.
it's I don't. There's kind of something appealing about that though, in a way. I don't know how to describe it. Like again, just like I was saying about like emulation enhancements, like fun to mess around with on a stream. And I'd have a great time doing it, but not something I would like seriously play the entire game like. And you know, that's the same thing here. Like, would I actually play a game like this in 240p? No, but it's fun as heck to try it.
But I totally like it's. I'll admit that like messing around with this is making me want to do another like. Even if it's just like a downscaled to 480i video, might be kind of fun.
Right.
Because like 4K games, like going down to 480i, like on the screen, like look pretty good. I think it has. Yeah, it's kind of appealing.
Right. Well, and also, you know, that's what people thought. Like people were confused about the intent of that video, and it's like, look, downscaling to 240p like is actually a pretty uncommon feature, right?
This is what people, you know, paid premium for the live streams for. That's why they want the extra bit rate is for this. Is to watch streams of like a camera pointed at a screen downscaling a game from 4K to 240p. This right here. I mean, it's been way too long since we've done something like this. I think on stream, but this is like this is like our bread and butter right here. This is like what people come every week. I think hoping will happen. I hope that they downscale a game to, you know, like a fraction of its resolution this time, and point a camera at the CRT so we can watch it happen.
We've got 2 super chats. First, $10 super chat from Robert Hernandez. Thank you. Saying, I am increasingly of the belief that console gaming peaked during the 360, PS3, Wii era. It was also the beginning of the end with games like Dead or Alive 5, nickel and diamond gamers. At least we have the Retrode 4K. I mean, you know, I don't want console gaming to end up in a bad place, but you know, if it does, that's right. We've got the Retrode 4K. We've got lots and lots and lots of ways to play our you know, our libraries of games that we'll never find the time to play as it is. So we're in a good spot no matter what happens, you know, with the future of new games. But I mean, I don't know if I 100% agree with that. I mean, I think Nintendo in particular, I think is in a really good place these days and are still making super great games. But I do think the generation that started with PS4 and Xbox One, I do think started it marked the beginning of a change in the sense that did it switch to like
it's HDR, so I gotta turn off HDR.
I do think, you know, it marked the beginning of that shift of like I was saying earlier, like that shift of like Sony increasingly becoming a Western focused platform holder. It started sort of the homogenization of the hardware, which, you know, in some ways made some things a little less interesting, perhaps. You know, I think a lot of great games are still being made, of course. But in terms of like the console experience of having like unique things available on each platform and unique features to the hardware, you're probably right. That was kind of it. And, you know, the Switch 2, you know, is definitely going to be set to be more of the same. I believe that, you know, they actually like admitted for the first time ever that you know, that they will be announcing a successor to the Switch this fiscal year.
So we're looking at this in 480i.
Okay. I mean, it looks relatively 240p on the stream, but
No, this is 480i, but yeah. But I mean, this game, it looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the thin lines and stuff that make it look weird. There was also 5 Canadian from to Lebal to Lebtaus
Tiltoes.
Tiltoes. You conquered it much better than I did. Tiltoes. Saying, Coury, here's my question for you. Here's my question for you? And I'd love a bit of bacon and eggs with my Tilib toast.
As far as I know, I think that Chris put up a episode yesterday, at least on the on the podcast stream. I'm not sure if it's on the if it's. I don't think it's on YouTube yet.
What CRT are we looking at specifically?
This is the one that's over on my B-roll set.
So it's a
14L5? No, 14L5 is what I have here. Now,
oh, right.
And that one is just like a 14-inch, it's like a medical one. It's the one that Steve fixed at the Retro Create the one time.
Oh, so it's like a 14 M2?
Yeah,
or
something
L2,
like that. Well, I keep it over there because it is the only one that has like the anti-glare on it, which makes it easier for shooting stuff off.
B-roll. So, but are you also getting the game image on your desk CRT?
Yes. So I am looking. I can see it on my 14L5 right here, but I also see it in 4K, like immediately above it. So I can do both.
So, do you convert? Wait.
So it's going into that.
Those are some long runs, unless you're like converting it twice. Some long analog runs.
Yeah, I mean, it goes up and over because it has to. It goes from my Extron over to the set.
It's a long run. But if it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
If you don't see any obvious issues with it, then it.
No, I mean.
It looks pretty good here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just. I'm seeing it on here because like the Extron goes to like over to the B-roll set and all, like over here as well, but I can also see it in 4K here because I have the HDMI comes out of my receiver and goes into a 4-way splitter, and that 4-way splitter down converts it 4K to 1080p, which then feeds into the OSSC Pro, which then goes down to 240p or 480i in this instance.
Do you have any sense of how far into the game you are?
It says I'm 55% according to the menu. There's like
how long have you been
like more open areas. It kind of alternates between having like straightforward areas and open areas.
So like FF7 Rebirth.
Yes. But it's kind of cool, right? It looks. I feel like the 480i looks better in person than it is like going through there. If I was to shoot it with the camera, it was not going into the stream. I don't know if that's like making it look worse than it actually does.
Yeah, I mean, if you shoot your B-roll at 60 FPS, it should look okay. The only challenge would probably be that you can't make it. You probably wouldn't be able to eliminate the refresh line if you did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be the one downside to like doing a video like that. But
I mean, I might be able to tweak it a little bit.
Although I'm looking at this, the refresh line
It looks
takes
like
a really long time to like. It takes a really long time to come back around.
Yeah,
So you could cut between.
for sure.
You could cut between instances of the refresh line. Like it's. Like I'm not counting, but like it feels like I'm not seeing it come back around for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and I almost feel like I could tweak it a little bit. I mean, it might be even. I mean, it's at 60 right now. Let me see if I can get rid of it.
Like I wonder, can you force the OSSC to output an even 60 hertz that would just match perfectly with the camera?
I might be able to. Hang on. Let me just see if I can.
That would be pretty neat. If you could do that, then or 59.94 whatever it is. 59.94. Yeah, try. But I don't know if the camera is operating at exactly that. Probably. Refresh line adds authenticity. But if you can avoid it, it's still authentic, is it not? The only thing I don't like about using like a black frame insertion is, just like a CRT, if you try to take a photo of your TV, it adds a refresh line just visible on, I might want to take like a picture of something in the game, like a note I need to remember, or take a picture of something that I might need to remember for a puzzle or a password or something like that. And it creates difficulties. Now I'm seeing some interlacing, but it seems like half rate or something weird. It looks strange. Is it perfect if it doesn't have a refresh line? Maybe. That might be perfect. The only downside to eliminating the refresh line, well, we shoot a lot of our B-roll at 30 FPS. I mean, we prefer B-roll to be 30 FPS, but sometimes you do need to make it 60 for a CRT. But if you're not shooting 60, well, part of the reason that we would shoot B-roll of a CRT at 30 instead of 60, and especially if it's 240p, because if it's 480i, you would need to shoot at 60 to actually get the interlacing effect. Otherwise, it looks like 240p. If you're shooting at 60, you can't sync below 60. That's the problem. So you can only really shoot like Super Nintendo or NES.
Now you should be seeing the interlacing, because my camera, I had it set to 30 and I didn't realize it.
Yes, we see interlacing now.
All right, let me shrink this down and fit it in the screen a little bit more. Now that looks more authentic, right?
Yeah.
That's my fault, obviously.
And currently, I'm not noticing a refresh line either.
I mean, it's there.
There it is. But it seems like it's pretty long between instances.
Yeah.
So even if you weren't like using SynchroScan, you could like cut around it pretty easily.
All right, I'll just do this. I'll play like a little bit like this, so you can see it in like the when you see it like this, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like, can you read that text pretty reasonably enough?
I don't know. I don't know. No.
I mean, I can read it a little
see,
bit.
Like the titles.
Yeah.
I mean, I can zoom out the camera a little bit.
Yeah, zoom in on that text.
I can almost read it now. But in motion, you know, you kind of see. Still cuts off a little bit of the icons and stuff in the corners, but you can actually. I didn't realize you can have. If you go on the options and you go to like the advanced timing, I think it is, then you can change the size.
There was.
I can bring it in. See how I'm bringing it in? So you can make it so it fits. See how I'm like adjusting it?
Neat.
So now you can have it completely letterbox and fit on screen.
Oh wow. That's neat. I am seeing like a weird blue line off.
Like I think that's just showing up on the. That's not showing up on mine. I guess it's in the underscan. But I mean, you can just crop it out just a touch. Neat. I think
it is.
Somebody. Yeah, right. I mean, I think that the downscaling is like the thing that was the most exciting about the OSSC Pro to me.
Oh yeah. Now
you can do it all in one unit. You can take
it's a separate add-on board.
What's that?
It's a separate add-on board, but it's pretty cheap. It's like $30.
Yeah. Am I fighting? Oh, this.
Oh yeah, we did cut into the face cams a bit.
But for people, for Tilbs Toads, you should be able to at least find the new episode in the podcast feed. It probably will be out on YouTube tomorrow. I mean, Chris said that he edited and uploaded it. It's like several weeks old, but we'll be recording again this week, hopefully. The image is a little bright now. I feel like I have to probably go down.
North Lake Mall. I see you've got a near automata like pod buddy with you.
A what?
You've got a near automata like pod buddy.
Yes, that you can make a gun, but you don't have unlimited ammo.
Oh, like does she actually grab it? Oh, she grabs it as a gun. I see.
Mm-hmm. There's the Houston Mall and Rollerdrome, and now the mall that used to be here.
Wait.
This sign was a sign for like a mall.
It was that North Lake Mall. That name sounds familiar. Is there a North Lake Mall in Cincinnati?
It would be funny if that's where it took place, like around here.
Yeah, like this game developed in Korea. They're like, let's have this take place in Cincinnati.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely near Automata inspired, and it's fine. Like that is totally fine. And you know, like I think I said this during like one of the Twitch streams. People like were looking at this saying like, oh, this game is very much like, oh, we have Nier Automata at home. And I was like, you know, sure, if you want to say that, sure, but this team, the team that made this, they only made like gacha portable games before this. And I think that like it's unfair to compare them and say like, well, it's not as good as Nier.
Well,
Automata.
and also
but that's like also like you know, like that team, like they did all the Drakengard games, then they did Near Replicant. You know, like that's.
Well, and not only that, like I mean, granted, this is a PS5 game, and
had Platinum games like doing the battle system.
I know. Well, and like, granted, this is a PS5 game, and Nier is a PS4 game, so this might not be entirely fair, but the graphics are a lot better than Nier Automata. Like, Nier Automata is like not a particularly good-looking PS4 game. Like its graphics get the job done, but it's not that good looking of a PS4 game.
No,
like it's definitely got some art flourishes to it that make it hold up, but like I feel like even if you. I don't think it's that unfair to compare the visuals of a PS4 game, from a team with much more experience to this, and this looks better than that. I think, at least on a technical level. I'm not talking about art. On a technical level, this I think it's a nice looking game.
Yeah. How do I like the Resident Evil Dead Space sections? I've only had one where you can't use your sword. You mean you have to kind of use your gun? Only. I've only had one section like that so far.
Daily Gamer says a bit like Sumo Digital only made interactive leisure games before they got Outrun 2's Sega Xbox conversion project. I didn't know they did that. I mean, I generally like Sumo Digital games. Like they did Snake Pass. I really liked. And
didn't they do
Sackboy, right?
What?
I think they did Sackboy.
Yeah, they did the new Sackboy.
Yeah, their games have pretty good style to them, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with games like this and Lies of P like coming out, like I think it's actually really exciting to see like Korea game development seeming to like kind of take off more and like reach like a larger world stage, because like it's like maybe a little Japanese like, but also like a kind of its own flavor too. Like I think it's exciting to like to see that start to kind of come about.
Yeah, and I've told you before that my daughter's like super into K-pop. And she came down here and she like immediately like says, "Oh, are they speaking Korean?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then she was like immediately like kind of interested for a little while. Based on that alone.
That's interesting. Because like I would think that she would mostly only hear the language in music, and I feel like it would sound so different in spoken dialogue to music. But maybe she listens to like watches like interviews or something.
Well, no, I mean she's been like trying to like do the same kind of like using like Duolingo.
Oh, okay. So she's trying to like learn the Korean characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Korean characters are so interesting. They're like there's like a lot of like circles and like sticks that kind of make it up. But I certainly don't know any of them.
This is when things get really tough, is like when you like suddenly get like two enemies on you.
Oh,
very hard to what is a Stellar Blade on the PS2? Basically, if it was, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it in a lot of aspects about it feel like a PS2 game, so it kind of is like it feels very appropriate, right?
That's right. Yeah, Joe. This is Stellar Blade downscaled to 480i via the OSSC Pro. Although, really, you could probably do it any number of ways more easily. Like, because in some way,
I think doing it through the OSSC Pro is like the easiest way, really.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have said easier, but like, when people didn't understand like why are you making this big deal about doing this 240p downscaling, or they didn't understand that it was downscaling 240p. They're like, oh, you can do this with a cheap adapter on Amazon. It's like, no, that would be 480i.
Yeah.
But you could do HDMI to 480i many other ways.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess I don't necessarily mean, is it easier? It certainly seems easier to get a good result this way, I will say.
Yeah.
But what I meant, I get what I meant to say was, it's not as like exclusive of a feature
and
as
this
240p would be.
But it's not easy to get 240p.
No. But so what's the other output mode, like D something?
Yeah, I don't really know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Did you watch that downscaling video that I linked you to? Like, this guy did like a review of like the downscaling functions of the OSSC Pro.
I saw the video linked before you sent it to me, and I had meant to watch it, but I have not. I probably should.
I watched it, but didn't necessarily absorb all the information I could have, since I hadn't yet really tried to do it, and I kind of ended up at a dead end because I need to get a different cable or adapter than the one that I was just trying to use some cables that I already had, and then I realized that they were PVM output or PVM output to the PVM cable rather than the other way around. So
yeah,
and I'm trying to get it into the PVM via the G-SCART.
Let me get out of the desert area and go someplace else here. Unless you want me to try something else.
I mean, it's after 11. Is there anything quick and accessible on your PS5 here that might be neat to look at downscaled?
At least get to a place where I can.
Do you have blazing chrome or something like that? That would be actually, or would blazing chrome actually downscale that way properly? I don't know if it would. It might. You might have to set your system to 720p. Is what we're seeing here? You've got the system. You've got the system set to
4K.
4K, and you've got downscale through that EasyCoos
to 1080p
1 to 4 splitter to 1080p.
Yes. Let's see here.
Oh, what about Astro's Playroom? Oh, you do have Demon Souls?
I do, yeah. You talked me into getting it. I don't know if I have Blaze. I don't. Like, on...
Oh, what about Klonoa?
I don't know if that's like... Street Fighter 6? I could grab the disc for that. New Street Fighter 6. There might be an update, though, for it. I haven't played it in a while. Turtles, I could do...
Oh, what about Bastion?
They just the people in Siphon Filter. I don't want to have to get a disc, so I'm just looking for things that I have digitally here. I guess I could do Tunic. See how Tunic looks.
Yeah.
Because that was just added to PS Plus, which means I don't need a disc for it.
Oh, nice. Drum is borrowing my my PS5 right now.
And is he playing this?
He's playing Rebirth.
Oh, okay.
So I'm actually going to start Mortal Kombat 10 on the stream tomorrow, but I'll need to use my PS4. That game doesn't have a pro patch, does it? I don't think it does. So we're on 240p right now.
Yes.
Did you ever finish this?
I did, yeah. Is that one that I can... It's a New Game Plus? This might be the New Game Plus. Yeah, there we go. I don't know, like 240p might not be the greatest. Let's see what 480i looks like for this, though. I don't know, it doesn't look that bad. It's kind of has an appealing look to it.
Sure. There's not like a lot of text or anything you need to read, right?
No, it's almost all like this. It's almost all...
There's all that made up language.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at the manual. You can't really...
Yeah, the manual looks bad. Well, but what about in 480i? Oh, you've got the CRT behind it.
Oh,
behind
you mean... Yeah. Inception, right?
Yeah.
This is a great game. It gets really, really tough at the end. And some of the... I had to like look up some stuff by the end. I will.
William Miller has a $10 super chat. Thank you. Saying, what's a practical way to use my PS4 on a CRT with minimal input latency, or should I just invest in a decent display? I mean, if your goal is minimal latency and not like the CRT look, I mean, honestly, you can get really low lag on modern displays. I mean, especially like, say what's it? I forget what exactly the low lag mode on like the LG OLEDs are called. I mean, that's like I don't know, like I want to say like 2 or 3 milliseconds of lag. I mean, that's indistinguishable from a CRT. You can get sub 1 frame lag on modern TVs. I mean, I would look at the lag ratings on like ratings.com, RTINGS. Artines. They do extremely extensive tests, and they actually, and I'm sure we played a role in this. They have
test,
like,
right?
They have a separate test for 3 lag now. I'm positive that we had to do with that, because someone commented on the LGC2 saying, hey, My Life in Gaming found these issues, and then they responded saying like, oh, we might need to look into that, and now they do it. So yeah, I would recommend looking up lag readings there. You can easily get less than 16 milliseconds. I mean, if you don't know the details, 16 if a game is 60 frames per second, 16 milliseconds is 1 frame. If you get less than that, then you are getting extremely close to a CRT-like experience. So I would, if low lag is your goal, I wouldn't say that, like, you shouldn't have the notion that a CRT is your only way there.
Yeah. This looks pretty good.
But a practical way to use your PS4 on a CRT with minimal input latency, I mean, I don't know what kind of lag, like just a generic, HDMI to like composite or component converter would, or VGA converter. Usually VGA to, or HDMI to VGA is usually pretty low lag. If you've got like a PC monitor with VGA, you can get just, straight converters that are no lag or basically no lag. But I don't know about like if you're talking like consumer CRT, like component or composite or S-video or something. I don't know if there could be lag there. I'm pretty sure we can count on the or in fact, I'm pretty sure it was proven in that video I was talking about. It was shown that it's 0 lag on a CRT. So the OSSC Pro definitely doesn't add lag if you're outputting to a CRT. But if your goal is lag more so than the CRT aesthetic, then I would say just look up some TV data on ratings.com and find a TV that has low lag. All of the LG OLEDs I know, since those are the ones I mostly pay attention to. Those are in good shape. So that, just look for anything that is, under 60 milliseconds. Also keep in mind that some TVs may behave differently with different resolutions. They can even behave differently with different inputs. I don't know if that's still the problem that it used to be, but it used to be a thing where different inputs could have different lag. Oh yeah, pennies should look really cool on this. Yeah, I thought Quake looked great too.
Yeah.
But was that Quake 2?
Yeah.
That was Quake 2, yeah. I got my copy of that a few weeks ago. I look forward to playing through it. Is this what if Pennies was a Dreamcast game?
Yeah, right.
Oh, it'd probably be 480p, not 480i.
Yeah. Which is
like, for most people, it would be 480i.
Yeah, and this game is really bright, so it's like blowing out the image.
Sad that Unreal Tournament 99 is largely forgotten except for the diehard community. Epic just doesn't care anymore. John showed me when I was visiting him, he showed me the original Unreal, which is, it's something I never really thought about because I always just equate Unreal with multiplayer. And, I care limitedly about that. And so I never really thought about the non-tournament Unreal. And it's just, it's a really good looking, boomer shooter, as they say, which is my kind of thing. I would love to play through a night dive version of the original Unreal.
So I wish that maybe I just need to give it more time, but I wish that I liked this more than I do.
You should watch John's video.
I know, and that's about I understand the more you play it, the better you're gonna get it, and you learn the momentum and everything. My problem is that the first world in the game has so many levels. I was kind of amazed. You expect it to be 3 areas, but how many? Let me see if I can take a look here. Yeah, it had 5 levels, and it just kept on going, and the music kind of really is good, but hearing it that many levels in a row, and they're all pretty long, I'm ugh. It's kind of not so much overwhelming, just that it's I want to see something different.
There was $5 from Chris Nate. Thank you. Saying, hey guys, love your content. Was just curious what your biggest comfort food games are. Mine is probably Donkey Kong Country 2. Thanks. Ooh, that's a good pick. That could be one for me too.
Ghouls and Ghosts on the Genesis is definitely my comfort food. It's like that's a game like I feel as though I can just play over and over again, and I will always be down to play it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's such a basic answer, but like Super Mario Brothers, man, like the original Super Mario Brothers, like if I just want to like casually like test something out, like the chances of me grabbing Super Mario Brothers are pretty darn high. You know, Super Mario 64. I mean, again, such basic answers, but and those are just games I can play anytime. I'll say like GoldenEye probably falls into that category too. Just like a game that you could just like boot up and load a level and just have a good time anytime. Like for sure. You know, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I was I was mentioning at the end of the Final Fantasy 14 Xbox review video that's on Digital Foundry. I mentioned at the end of it, you know, that like, you know, a lot of people might be intimidated about like, you know, starting at the beginning of this like big thing that's like, you know, already like 4 expansions, has a fifth one coming very soon. And, you know, also the fact that, you know, generally people say that like, oh, you know, Realm Reborn is a little slower, but it really picks up in the expansions, and that like some people might I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna have to like slog through a Realm Reborn to get the good stuff. And I don't think a Realm Reborn is as boring as a lot of people make it out to be. And I kind of commented that those early hours of like an RPG where you're just like doing like really mundane stuff, like, you know, they're just like, oh, you know, we gotta cull the lizards outside of town, or oh, can you go deliver the bread to grandma, you know? Like all that like really mundane stuff, like I kind of find that to be comforting, like, and it just I kind of appreciate that slow start and just sort of the mundane everyday life and the lowly creatures that you're fighting at the beginning of a game is like it's kind of a bit of a comfort food thing to me, I think. Where like I think a lot of people just like want to get to the good stuff really fast, and I kind of like that early, like really basic, more down to earth stuff at the very beginning of RPGs sometimes. You know, because like, you know, once you pass a certain threshold in Final Fantasy 14's story, like you are like the biggest, baddest dude in the history of the world, and you know, the greatest hero of all time. You know, it's kind of nice to think that, you know, you have these little more humble beginnings. I think, I don't know, I like those early parts of an RPG where it just seems like the possibilities are endless, and like, ooh, what am I going to do with my character? What kind of abilities do I want to learn? Yeah, stuff like that. I don't know. I find that to be a comfort food of sorts for me. Just the wonder at the beginning of an RPG. Mr. Do says, tries true love. The NPC that says, hey, can you clear these rats from my basement? I have a bit of a
hide my grandma.
I won't lie. There was also a response from William Miller. Thank you, saying, thanks for the info. Been a long-time fan. Just want some advice since my 32-inch HD CRT is my daily driver. I have my Gen 7 consoles and below hooked up to it and wanted to add my PS4 and Xbox. Yeah, I mean, if you... I mean, you could easily get, you know, a new modern TV with very, very low lag. But yeah, like, I mean, exactly what Coury is doing. I mean, it's not necessarily a cheap point of entry, but if you thought there might be other useful things you would use with the OSSC Pro other than just the downscaling, it could be worth it. You know, especially if you know, just want to, run some. Well, I guess you might already be connecting some consoles, but it might be a way to sort of consolidate maybe some of the output of your consoles. Corey and John almost tempted me into taking John's old widescreen HD CRT.
Well, I mean, I was almost gonna take it, and I as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I can't. No, I had agreed to take it. I was like, I saw it and it's like this, like, no, I'm gonna, like, I do not have space for this.
In my head, I imagined it being much smaller than it actually is.
Well, yeah, but yes, and it's just like really, it was really deep.
Yeah. If I had the place to put it, I would I don't know. 50-50, I might have taken it, but then when you gave me the dimensions, I'm just like, oh, thank goodness I can't fit this. I didn't want to be able to fit it, but if I could, I would have done it.
Yeah. See, that's just my problem with this game. Is that I feel like the worlds are too long. And I know that that's kind of like a silly thing to say, but I feel like if you're going to have a platformer, it has like they should have like no more than like 3 levels per world. I think that's a good pacing decision. You know what I mean?
Well,
Does that make sense?
We'll see how I feel about it when I finally get around to it someday.
Yeah. I mean,
someday.
Like I want it. Maybe it would get better later on. Maybe it gets better later on and I would like it more. I mean, I want to like it.
I love the aesthetic of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I feel like the levels themselves are very long. Like too long, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, maybe
I wouldn't really expect
in the first area, and then like as they get closer to finishing the game, it's like, all right, well, we got speed stuff up here. So maybe it gets better later on. I don't know. That's all I got to say about it. Well, that was a fun little excursion, something a little different, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, well, it's just something I thought about when I walked to fill up my water. I was like, no, I could probably pretty easily do that. And we did.
And you did.
Anyways, I think that'll do it for this week.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has a fantastic week ahead of you. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna be going. I want that tour video to come out in May. So that's my main goal. And the thing is, I have like a whole bunch of like other ideas for episodes that I'm like excited. I've already been like kind of gathering material for them.
Mm-hmm. We've got some fun little ideas.
Yeah. So like I mean I talked about this in the Tuesday stream that I did like on Twitch about how like the Xbox 360 store, you can no longer buy things starting I think it's 29th of July, and instead of doing like a whole here's everything you should buy, I thought it'd be fun to do an episode of like here's what's on my Xbox 360. It's kind of like an overview of like stuff that I've like bought over the years. Some things might be bad, some things might be good.
But it's just like
it's just kind of like here's like
just like what ended up on here.
Yeah, what ended up
over
like
the years,
what did I buy for this system?
Not making a special effort to like make sure you've got all you hit everything.
Right.
Just like it's just what you happen to get.
Yeah. I mean,
and I can have a little guest segment on. I mean, I don't have very much at all. So,
yeah.
I can do a little bit, and then you can do the rest.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think would be kind of fun. It just could be a fun thing to do because I guess my inspiration for it was sometimes I'll see these videos from like videographers saying like, "What's in my camera bag? Here's what I have in my camera bag," and it's kind of like, "What's on my Xbox 360?" So that'd be kind of fun. That's my plan. Like, that's what I'm going to be doing right after I do the tour.
Cool.
Anyways, I think that'll do it. Hope everyone has a great week. You know, might be doing some Twitch streams this week as I try to figure out like how I want to work that into my schedule. I was able to finish up Yakuza on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's great.
So, anyways, thanks everybody for the donations, and we will see you soon. Take care.
Good night.